Coming up now is another sparkling Two Mics podcast.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. Thanks very much indeed to Andy Goldstein and to Jason Cundy. It's that time of the day and that time of the week when we say a very, very good morning and a very warm welcome to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. The only problem is he's not actually here, and I don't know where he is because he's supposed to be here at the start of the show. It's coming up to 5 minutes past 1, and finally he's coming through the door. What on earth are you wearing? You're wearing, he's wearing pink gloves. He's wearing some kind of plastic over sheet of some kind.
Mate, it's germ protection.
Germ protection.
It's germ protection. I'm telling you, we have a crisis in this country. There's an epidemic of cold and influenza.
You haven't driven in dressed like that, have you?
I have driven in like this. I'm not touching any objects. I'm not touching even the steering wheel of my car. This, right, the magic fluid goes on everything that I touch.
The magic fluid.
OK, it'll be treated on this chair before I sit down in it, and then I'll proceed with him doing the show. But I'm not doing the show without this protective behaviour. Studios like this, where people come in and out all the time, are a den of iniquitous germs.
Are you going to sit down finally and talk into the microphone properly?
I will in a minute, but I'm not very keen on sitting down. I want my producer to come in and I want them to dose and treat my chair before I sit down. Because I am telling you, I'm going to war on germs. And I'm going to tell you all about it right now on this show, how I'm going to try and protect this country against what I see as an insidious outbreak of germ warfare.
You mean insidious?
It's germ warfare, okay?
It may well be. Well,
right?
I wish you'd wear something over your head as well in that case.
No, I've already treated my headphones. These have been treated.
We've got somebody now spraying the chair.
Excellent.
Are you happy now? Are you happy now? You can sit down now. Can we get on with the show, please? Can we get on with the show now?
OK, I've done the headphones already.
Yeah.
You are just a walking mass of germs. I'm not coming anywhere near you,
I'm not at all, Joe. I'm not the one that's sick. Right. You've been ill for the best part of the last 3 months.
I may have been, but I've now protected myself.
You look like an extra from Star Trek.
I'm not an extra from Star Trek. I am just trying to do the practical thing. If everybody would take attention of the germ warfare problem that I am taking attention of, then I'm afraid we'd all get on much better. We wouldn't have... I mean, all of my family are laid low by colds,
That's
flus.
What you told us the other day, yeah.
One of them's been to hospital. Yeah. Another one had to call 111.
You look a lot better than you did on Monday night, though. Oh, for God's sake, you're going to be coughing all the way through now.
Well, I hope not.
All the way through.
No, I hope not. I hope not.
You brought any of those Beecham's powders with you?
Brought the Beecham's powders in. I have the old Purell Advanced Hygienic Hand Rub, right? That goes on everything that I touch. What are you laughing at?
Why do you need hygienic hand rub if you're wearing pink gloves? Why are you wearing pink gloves, by the way?
Well, because they actually reflect germs better than dark gloves, to be honest. Yeah, they do. And that is my mission in life, OK? And that's what we've got to get on with, Mike. And you've got to remember that we are in the privileged position of being able to help millions of people, advise them, and
there's millions of people listening to this now, wondering what pearls of wisdom are going to fall from your lips so that their lives can be improved.
Well, if
most of them are now rolling about laughing.
No, if people follow it the way that I do it, then we'll have a much healthier country. I mean, to start off with...
You couldn't have driven the car in dressed like that, surely?
I did.
But you can't move your arms properly.
Excuse me. I can.
I'm sure that's illegal.
No, I can. The suit that I've sort of fashioned is...
What do you mean a suit? It's not a suit, it's a plastic bag.
It's not. It's an industrial covering, right, which I've pulled together as a protective suit.
Really?
No, I'm absolutely serious about it. I don't mind people having a laugh at my expense when I know I'm right.
Well, that's just as well.
I mean, you've got to remember that, when Leonardo da Vinci first drew an illustration of a helicopter, he was nearly locked up for being declared insane. Yeah.
Are you now comparing yourself to Leonardo da Vinci? Is that what you're doing?
Well, I'm saying that if you want to be a prophet and if you want to strike out, if you want to lead the way in life, then sometimes you have to...
You're surely not suggesting that designing the first ever helicopter, which nobody had ever heard of, is the same as dressing up in plastic and putting on some pink gloves.
All I'm saying is, if everybody took the care that I'm taking to keep away from germs, then we wouldn't have the epidemic we've got of cold and influenza at the moment.
Why don't we go through the whole process that some people in parts of Asia do, where you just wear a mask, a surgical mask over your face? I'll tell you why we don't do that, because if you do that, you actually create more germs.
I know you are.
You're trapping them.
You're trapping them. Yeah. That's why I say I come into a studio. There've been, probably a dozen people working in this studio over the last 24 hours. Yeah. They would have left germs all over the place. Now, it's not their fault. The human,
You can never clear those out of here, though, unless you literally,
can't.
completely, bomb the place.
You can't. The human form carries germs, it spreads them. We can't help that. That's what happens, right? So,
I mean, let's face it, Alan Brazil's been in here this morning. He had Dominic Cork with him. You had Des Kelly in a little bit earlier on with Danny Murphy. And a couple of other people. You had Hawksby and Jacobs were here. here.
That's right.
You had Adrian Durham and Darren Goff.
That's right.
You had Mark Saggers in here. You've had Andy Goldstein and Jason Cundy.
Sure.
And now you.
Yeah, now they're not deliberately trying to spread germs. I'm not suggesting that for a moment, but the human form does carry germs with it. It just does.
Well, I think
you're
you're actually a germ factory, I think, because you're the one that has been consistently ill since about November the 10th.
No, if you can't stop the manufacture of germs, which you can't, then at least you can protect yourselves against them. And yes, other people will try to take the mickey out of me, try to make me
belittle me,
make
you out to be a weirdo,
a figure of derision. Yeah, make me out to be a weirdo. All I'm trying to do is protect the world and myself at the same time. What is wrong with that?
Has this been in some way spurred on by the fact that the A&E departments of this country are now in complete and utter crisis?
Well, they're not, are they? I mean, this is all it's all a political trick, all this, isn't it? Right, hospitals in crisis. At this time of the year, it's always the busiest week. Because unfortunately, old people fall over and break their hips, which is, a shocking thing to happen. People get colds and influenza. Doctors' surgeries are overrun, and hospitals are in the advanced stage of looking full. And thank God we've got a very efficient National Health Service for the most part to cope with it. What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at this message from Martin, who's a Man United fan. It says in Hereford, so it's either Hertford or Hereford, I'm not sure.
Yes.
He says, Mr. Graham, is Porky Parry having a nervous breakdown?
No.
And why is Porky's family ringing 911? They don't live in America.
No, 111, I said.
Did you say 111?
Yeah, I said 111.
He said 9, I think he said 911.
No. 999 obviously is the emergency one, but the 111 is the sort of scaled-down emergency type thing, which you have to do in this country. Well, anyway, look, I think our producer might have snatched a frame or two of what I'm about. So I want this distributed, Mike, because I want to help the rest of the country. I'm here to help. I'm here to lead from the front. I'm big enough, broad enough shoulders to carry...
Your shoulders actually look as if you're wearing a spacesuit at the moment.
To carry the, the ignorant reaction and backlash, which will inevitably happen, but it doesn't matter. I'm on a mission. I really am on a mission. My mission starts, by the way, in public houses, right? My mission starts in public houses, and the reason my mission starts in public houses...
And that's where it ends as well, isn't it, in public houses?
No, is because...
Because that's where you spend all your time.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not true.
You spend so much time in public houses that they gave you some free sausages last week, which you passed off as having won in a meat raffle.
I believe that an awful lot...
I'm going to put out a picture of how you look.
No, I don't think you should. I believe an awful lot in the fact that public houses spread a lot of germs. Now, they don't mean to, but you see, the problem with public houses is people go in them, and because they drink an awful lot of liquid, they have to use the bathroom a lot, OK?
Yeah.
Now, what I'm saying is, if you're using bathrooms all the time, right, you are inevitably spreading germs by their very nature. What is most essential in the bathrooms in public houses, they have soap in them. If I'm touring, I'm going to hit... a different town every day next week, right?
Well, I think they might start ringing the bell whenever you start arriving.
Yeah, well, if they want to. And I'm going to visit the bathrooms in these public houses, and if there's no soap, I'm going to go to the bar, I'm going to give the barman one chance to replenish the soap in his bathroom, and if he can't, I'm going to ring the public health department of that council and demand that they send somebody round immediately and possibly have the place closed down, because there's no bigger and better and faster and more notorious way of spreading germs than to have people in a place where drink and food, lots of food is served, and not have soap available in the bathrooms. It's not just an
excuse you've got a pub crawl.
No, it's not an excuse to go on a pub crawl. I will have half a pint in each pub.
Well, how many are you going to go to?
Well, I might go to 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or something,
That's 3 pints
Well,
already.
3 pints isn't going to kill you, is it? You know what I mean? But I will go... What are you laughing at?
Well, how are you going to get between the pubs? You're going to be walking,
I walk.
Of
course I will.
Walking.
Of course I walk. I get a train from central London to a town. Maybe it'll be Epsom. Maybe it'll be Dorking. Maybe it'll be Kingston. But I'm coming, right? And I'm going to tour these pubs.
It'll be like that guy that turns up on your doorstep from the morning TV show, isn't it? You know, the guy that knocks on your door and says you won £1,000.
No, it's nothing like that.
Except in your case, it'll be like in reverse.
No, it's nothing like that.
Because you're going to turn up and shut down a load of pubs on the grounds that they're not hygienic enough. What a marvellous thing to do.
As far as I'm concerned, I am a self-appointed public health inspector. Public health inspector.
Self-appointed?
Self-appointed. Self-appointed. Right. Listen, you're deaf. And if nobody else will do it, I'm going to do it. And I don't care whether people think that it's eccentric behaviour.
Are you going to dress like that?
No, I'm going to be dressed absolutely normal. I'm dressed like this with my gloves on, people would spot that I had some sort of a mission when I was going in pubs.
They might think you're a bit weird.
But I promise you, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to be an undercover public health inspector in pubs in Surrey next week, so they better get all the soap in their soap dispensers, because if it's not there when I get... And the other thing is, I'm taking my own antiseptic spray to clean my own table in my own pub, because you can bet your life it hasn't been cleaned.
What a weirdo you are.
I'll be taking tissues in one pocket and a little can of spray, which I've got at home, in the other, to clean the tables and the chairs I sit in.
Look at the time. Look into the light for a moment, because we're already overrun.
Well, that's your fault, not mine.
You've only been here 10 minutes. You came in
late
already.
You keep asking me questions.
Yeah, well, you came in late. So, Porky on tour. Look out for him. He'll be the guy with the pink gloves and the antiseptic spray. This is Talk Sport.
Captain Staywell, we have a problem.
Every time I cough or sneeze, there are germs that come out of me. There is something I have found, so I don't spread germs all around. Germ attack, germ attack. I must fight back, I must fight back. Germ, 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 germ attack.
It's cold and flu season.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes. As you can tell, Mike Parry has gone into complete anti-germ mode, disinfectant all over the place. He keeps spraying everything all over around the place.
Yeah, but if other people did it, I mean, it's all very well of you to treat it mockingly and lightly. If other people did it, we wouldn't have an epidemic in this country, which we've got at the moment.
I don't think that's true. The whole point about germs is that basically they are very, very good at avoiding all sorts of different kinds of methods.
Well, what do you do to try and counter germs that you encounter in your life?
I just stay relatively healthy, and that's the best way to stop having germs in your body.
But you're not doing anything to help, are you? You're doing nothing positive. At least I'm doing something positive, and all you do is sit there and, sort of grin and laugh and make out that it's sort of odd behaviour. It's not odd behaviour to try and stop the world dying of cold and flu.
Nobody's dying of cold, right? People die of flu every single year. I mean, it doesn't really matter what happens. You can't stop it, right? One of the biggest germ factories in the entire world is a school, right? I've got two kids at school, and at any given time of the year, one of them is in a classroom full of people who have got some kind of cold or germs. But I'm not going to send them into school wearing, plastic coverings and pink gloves.
Why not?
Because the school will probably send them home again.
No, it's protective covering, and you should say to the school, if they sent your children home, say, good, I'm glad you sent them home because my children are now protected. You protect the other kids, I'll bring them back to school. That's what you should be saying.
Now, Flo has
should be more responsible.
Texted in saying, Mr. Parry must be going into down-market pubs. All reputable pub toilets have several liquid soap dispensers here in Glasgow, if not in leafy Surrey.
You say that, but I'm warning you. I'm warning you now that the problem is that most public houses now, they actually co-opt the cleaning of their bathrooms to outside cleaners, right?
What, you mean they outsource it?
Yeah, they outsource it, that's right. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was looking for. So these vans turn up at 6 a.m, the people come in and clean them. So what happens then is the staff come in at about 8 or 9 o'clock, right? And they then are subject to whatever the cleaners have done overnight. If the cleaners haven't filled the soap dispensers, they can't fill them during the day.
Are you talking about the liquid soap dispensers, or are you talking about actual bars of soap? Because bars of soap are actually some of the worst ways of passing germs on.
Of course they are. I'm talking about the ones that are fixed to the wall.
Yeah.
And you push the button underneath and the soap should come into your palm.
Liquid soap.
Yeah, liquid soap dispensers, right? And you'd be amazed, mate, how often they're empty. And every time they are, I go to the bar and say, excuse me, you've got no soap in that bathroom. That is a health hazard in this place.
But you're not going to be doing the community any favours by shutting down pubs, are you?
Yes, you are. You are, because you're not spreading germs then. I mean, remember... Pubs have people like chefs, they have cooks, they have bar staff, all of whom need somewhere to wash their hands all the time, maybe half a dozen times a shift or something like that.
Well, you would like to think that in the kitchen they wash their hands somewhere else.
Well, do they? I don't know. I've no idea.
Actually, if in fact you work behind the scenes in restaurants or in bars or in any food establishments, you'd probably be pretty horrified at what goes on there.
Exactly.
And
that's
you wouldn't
what I'm
eat
saying.
anything that was ever produced in a restaurant or a fast food establishment.
So, sorry, I'm just
Stop
moving
rustling
around.
that.
No, I'm not rustling. It moves as I move.
Yeah, I know. We'll try and stay still, for heaven's sake. Let me read you this from Robert in Belfast. It says, does your body not need to be exposed to certain germs so that you build up an immunity towards them? He's right about that. I remember being sent to a chicken pox party so that we could all get it when we were young, as it can be dangerous if you get it when you're older. Parry is an absolute lunatic.
Well, that's a ridiculous...
a chicken pox party.
Have
you never been to a chicken pox party?
No, to get infected by germs? No, I certainly haven't. But what I want,
Have you ever been to any other kind of party that involved chicken pox or any other kind of pox?
Well, I'm not going to answer that question.
Why not?
There's a leading question.
How's it a leading question?
Well, the pox is the medieval name for venereal disease, isn't it? So if you think I'm going to get dragged into that sort of ridiculous...
No, that was not what I was suggesting.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. You're being smutty.
I shall withdraw that question.
I'm not taking smut, and I like smut. And I do... Honestly, mate, you can help the nation by showing me a bit of recognition for the initiative to try and keep germs down.
I'm not going to do it.
Instead of holding me up to ridicule in the eyes of our millions of listeners.
I'm not going to join
or even in the ears of our millions of listeners.
I'm not going to join in with this ludicrous crusade of yours. Well, the only reason that you're
doing
your
loss, mate, not mine.
Because, I mean, you've become obsessed with this almost as much as you've got obsession about obesity because you've been ill for the best part of about 2 months.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
You don't lead a very healthy lifestyle.
That is true.
You
That
don't
is
lead a
absolutely
very
true.
healthy lifestyle. Let's talk, for example, about the exercise bike.
What's
going on with the exercise bike? You were supposed to be, in the new year, starting a new regimen, thanks to your family, who obviously feel sorry for you and think that you should lose a bit of weight. They buy you an exercise bike, and you haven't even got on it yet, have you?
There's been a problem with fitting it.
Really?
Yes, there's been a
So
problem.
it's still not there?
Well, it's not fitted in yet.
Not fitted
in its entirety. No.
What, you mean parts of it are in?
No.
Well, no parts of it are in.
No parts of it are in. But, I mean, there's big plans for it. Space has been made and all that kind of stuff. And now it's got to be sort of scientifically looked at, OK?
Right.
Yeah, that's all. That's all you need to know.
So when is it going to be fitted?
Well, I don't know the answer to that one, do I? Because these workmen, they have, like, lots of obligations and things. I don't know when
they've got to
they're
get
gonna
past the other workmen, the cherry picker and all that. How's that going, the roof garden? I get questions about this all the time. The reason I'm asking you is as a service to the people who follow us on Twitter, at the two mics, because they want to know what's going on.
Well, the roof garden is being resumed tomorrow. It couldn't be done today because it was raining.
Yeah.
So it'll be resumed in the morning.
So what, they can only fix your roof garden when it's actually raining? No, it's not raining.
No, it's not raining, you fool.
Well, they're never going to be able to finish it, then,
because
are
they're putting layers of asphalt on to...
asphalt?
Asphalt.
You mean asphalt?
Asphalt, and that's to waterproof it.
Yeah.
And you can't waterproof it if it's raining, because the rain catches in between the layers of asphalt.
Well, isn't that dangerous, though, if they leave it with the water just sitting there?
No.
That'll then seep down into the place underneath.
No, it is watertight. It is watertight.
Is it?
It's just a question of building the floor above it and on that water tightness, that's all. But you can't trap water in it.
And what
as you're
about this
building
nonsense you tweeted out earlier about putting some kind of Japanese mirrored pool in
I
there?
am going to get a Japanese reflecting pool put in, because that is a great step forward in the way that you get on and assess your own life.
Yeah.
You have a reflection pool.
But, you don't want to look in it, though, do you?
That's what you do. You stand over it for an hour and look into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it shows you your reflection.
Yes, it does, yeah.
Does it?
Yeah.
As people have pointed out, that might not be the best thing for you to do, surely.
No, it's good, because what you do is you look at what happens.
Will it be like all the mirrors you've got at home, that when you look into the reflection pool, when you see back the image, it looks like Brad Pitt or George Clooney?
No, and I'm not getting into the nonsensical, mocking tones of yours again.
Well, because I know what you see when you look in the mirror, and you don't see Mike Parry, do you?
Well, you don't see what you see when you look in a reflecting pool. When you look
Well, what does it reflect?
Well, when you look in a mirror, you are looking at a reflection from a body of trapped light.
Oh, yeah.
So that is not a true reflection of what you are. When you look
So what are you actually seeing, then?
You're seeing an image of yourself reflected back at you.
In reverse?
From trapped light.
In reverse?
Yes, in reverse, from trapped light.
So how is a pool reflection different?
Because it is natural light, it is free light, and it is...
Well, if it's dark?
Sorry?
What if it's dark?
Well, you don't look at it when it's dark, you idiot, do you? You look at it when it's light, or else you couldn't see anything, you fool. And what you do is you look in it, and then you are looking at the most natural light in the world, that is daylight, sunlight, air light, call it what you want.
Air light.
And you then start to understand yourself through the image you're looking at, the lines in your face, the stress lines, the curvature... You haven't
actually got that many lines in your face.
No, I haven't, no. The curvature
so you can't be that stressed.
Of your nose and all this kind of stuff.
Curvature of your nose?
Yeah, that's one of the things you reflect on when you look in your Japanese reflection pool.
Curved.
No, it's not, no, but it the shape of your face...
Well, how are you going to get a Japanese reflection pool put in, then? How are you going to get that done?
Well, I'm going to ask the workman to build it and put it in.
Well, isn't that going to weigh an awful lot, though? Won't it make the ceiling underneath collapse?
No, not at all.
You can't just put water on a roof.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
It's not that big.
It doesn't matter how big it is. It's made of rock, right? You put rocks around it.
Yes.
You're going to make it at least, a foot deep, maybe?
Yeah, probably about
So how
that.
much water would you say is that going to hold in cubic metres?
Well, hang on. A watering can holds about 8 litres, right? So the pool will hold about... 40 litres, about 40 litres.
40 litres of water. And how much do you think that weighs?
40 kilos, because a litre weighs a kilo. I know that, yeah. Because of my weight loss charts
that I
look at, yeah.
What weight loss charts?
Well, I have weight loss charts, don't I? Yeah, around the house.
Why do you look at those? You haven't lost any weight for years.
I don't know what you're talking about. You know full well that I walk 20 or 30 miles
you have
a week.
weight gain charts is what you should have.
When I haven't got a broken foot, and that is to keep my weight down to
all I'm saying to you
my
is
critical weight of 86 kilos.
86 kilos?
Yeah.
What's that in pounds?
It's about 14 and a half stone.
Yeah. That's quite heavy, isn't it, for someone your
No,
height?
not really. No.
Well,
no.
I'll have to look back at that BMI chart and see what,
Yeah,
that means. But anyway,
that
all I'm going to
ridiculous
say to you
BMI
is you
chart.
better consult with the workmen, because if you put any kind of heavy amount of water on a roof, it's going to fall through.
Yeah, but
because your roof terrace is not designed to have a big heavy weight of water on it.
Well, hang on. If it's 40 litres, which is half of what I weigh,
Yeah.
it's just like a person standing there all the time.
Really?
So that can't be a problem, can it?
Well, I don't know.
So you didn't really think that one through,
No.
did you?
I'm not
You
sure.
just jumped in to condemn again,
No.
told
Well-
me it was a stupid idea, when in fact it's the best
surely,
idea I've had for years.
I just think a reflecting pool is going to have more water in it than you think.
No, it won't, no.
Because if you actually empty out how many watering cans did you say? About 7 or 8?
A watering can takes about 8 litres,
Yeah.
so it'd be about 6 watering cans
Yeah, see,
full.
6 watering cans wouldn't fill a pond. I don't think that's enough.
Well, I think
I think you're underestimating it. I think you better get in touch with the neighbours and find out. You may need planning permission for it as well.
No, you don't.
Yes, you will.
Even if it was 10 watering cans, 80 litres, that's only what I weigh. So it's only like me standing in my roof
but it
garden
could be twice
permanently.
that. No, it could
No,
be
it's
twice
not.
that.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
I've got a pond in
And
my
anyway,
garden, right?
Anyway,
I've got a pond in my garden which has
yeah.
got fish in it, which is quite small,
Yeah.
right? But if you try and fill that up with a watering can, it would take you probably more like 50 watering cans to fill it up.
Yeah, but this is not a koi, what's it called? Carp pool.
Well, this is not a koi carp pool either.
It's not a fishing pool. It's not a pond for fish. It's a reflection pond. And it's only about the size, space-wise, of the wheel of a car.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of width
Right.
and depth of about a foot. So, yeah, you're right. It's probably about 40 or 50 litres of water, I would say. And, I mean, look, even if it weighs double that or treble that, that's just the weight of you and me standing in my roof garden, you standing there having a cigarette, because I wouldn't let you in the house to have one.
Of course not.
And,
I would expect you to.
And me standing there, sipping a glass of wine or something. See, Cardiff might go back to blue. How about that?
Yeah, that's interesting.
That was my campaign right from the start.
No,
Do you remember?
rubbish.
It was.
Oh, now you're going to say it's your
was.
campaign because we're about to do it.
It was. You ask any of the Cardiff fans out there, they'll tell you. They'll tell you it was my campaign to say
All
this
right, well,
must
you
not be
can tell us
allowed
about that. Well,
to
you can
happen.
tell us about that in a minute.
Must
You
not
can't
be
do it
allowed
now.
to happen.
You can't do it now.
Don't let it happen,
Well,
I said.
Yeah, but it did happen, and so you lost that
Oh,
campaign.
yeah, but it's going to be in reverse now.
Not necessarily.
I led that
Would
campaign.
Would you stop for a minute?
I led that campaign.
Look into the light. It is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Loads more coming up. We'll find out about Cardiff and Frank Lampard and much else besides next. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the two mics. There will, of course, be a podcast coming out a little bit later. Lots of people are tweeting me at the two mics, at Mike Parry 8 and at OMG, demanding to see pictures of you in your ridiculous get-up. There's been a slight technical hitch with that because we have, by the way, in the last couple of days, we've launched a new TV channel,
We
all
certainly
of our
have.
own. It's called the Two Mics TV.
Well,
and
hang on.
It's on YouTube.
Hang on. I didn't see anybody taking any pictures of me in my, my gear here.
Well, you may not have seen them being done. You may not have seen them being done, but, well, don't worry. I've sneaked a couple of pictures and I'll be putting them out on Twitter very shortly.
Oh, dear
Very,
me.
very shortly.
So, now you're going to try and...
74% processed, it says here.
Now you think you're going to make a fool of me, eh?
I'm not going to make a fool
And
of you.
I'm just trying to improve the world. That's all I'm trying to do.
People are just demanding to see it. Now, let me read you a couple of tweets and texts out that I've got.
Yeah.
Here's Robbo in Dagenham. Says,
Okay.
Mike Parry is right. If people wash their hands, this would be a much better country.
Yeah.
Years ago, people were cleaner. Utter filth. My mate never washes his hands after going to the toilet. Thinks it's tough. Handles his pet python and says, you want tea and toast. Absolutely awful. Well done, Mike Parry.
Thank you.
And here's
It's a
one,
very odd friend you've got there, pal.
Yeah, it is very
Going
odd,
around
isn't it?
with pythons.
And Derek in
Yeah.
Pencoeth says this. Mike Parry is a total numpty, saying he will call the local health department if there is no soap in the toilets of the pub or club he is using. How will he do that
Why?
when
Am I
the
a numpty?
department is closed? I work as a cleaner. He says, I work as a cleaner, and the amount of people I've seen leaving the toilets without washing their hands is a disgrace.
It is a disgrace. I agree.
He's saying that there is no local health department to call.
Of course there is.
That's what he's saying.
Health and safety cover it all now.
Do they?
Because you're putting your life at risk if you...
Well, is there some kind of hotline you're going to ring?
I just ring them up. I tell you what. Right, I'll tell you this is a true story. Right now, there was a public house.
First time for everything.
I'm not going to respond to that.
Yeah, all right then.
You know, your stupid, inane ramblings. There's a pub on Waterloo Station, right? Or there was. It was a couple of years ago now. It closed down, it reopened, so probably different people then. And I used to go in there after work and have a couple of pints waiting for my train to go home.
Yeah.
So I go to the bathroom.
Is that the one down the stairs?
Yes, that's right.
I
That's
know
the one.
yeah.
Yeah. So I would... I'd go to the bathroom, you know, quick leak and all that kind of stuff, and there was no soap. So I'd come out, say to the guy, there's no soap.
Right.
And that's not good enough, you know. So I let it go just the one time, and, you know, I made arrangements to go and wash my hands elsewhere. So the following day when I came in, I brought him in one of those pump-type soap things, OK? I said, look, I brought this in case there's no soap. I said, but I hope there's soap in your bathroom. I warned you yesterday. So I took my own soap in. There was no soap, so I used my own soap, and I brought it out again. I wasn't going to leave it there for other people to use, because I would have put germs on it, you see. So, anyway, on the third day, I said to the guy, if I come back tomorrow and there's no soap in there, I'm going to, you know, report you to the public health department. I says, an absolute...
Did he not throw you out of the place and say, get lost, don't come back?
He was a tiny little fella. He was smaller than me, believe it or not.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he was, yeah, yeah. And anyway, on the third day, I'd actually gone to B&Q the afternoon before when I got home and bought a soap dispenser, right? And I brought it in, and I marched him into the loo and said, fix this to the wall now. Mm-hmm. And he said, I haven't got a screwdriver. I said, go and find one. There must be a screwdriver in this pub. And I stood over him, literally, for 20 minutes while he, you know, fashioned a hole in the tiles in the wall and screwed on a soap dispenser. I made him do it.
That's ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous. Because
I'm astonished that he just chucked you out. Absolutely astonished.
He couldn't throw me out. I say he was smaller than me. He was the manager. And anyway, I had the moral high ground because I was trying to improve the public health facilities in that establishment.
Oh, really?
It's a public establishment. People were in there drinking, eating food from the kitchen and all that. What do you think I was going to do?
Well, I don't know what you were going to do.
Well, what I was going to do was what I did, to try and, you know, get some public order into the place. You see, you think that because I have a duty of care and a public service mind, that I'm an oddity. But you're an oddity, Mike, for not caring about these things.
Well, no, I'm like everybody else. I just
You're
get
an
on with
oddity.
my life. I don't go around telling people how they should run their pubs. I don't go around telling people what they should put in their pubs. If I go to a pub, I don't particularly like it.
Yeah.
I either leave or I have a very quick drink and I don't go back. I don't go around telling them how they should run their lives.
Well, I don't tell them how to run their lives. I tell them how to stop spreading germs and disease. You know, if hundreds, if thousands of people are using the goddamn establishment, then, as far as I'm concerned, it should you know, accord to the basic civilised rules of civilised behaviour, and that is to have soap in the bathrooms. I'm sorry, but I'm on a campaign about it, and I'm going to visit pubs all over Surrey next week, and if they haven't got it, I'm going to do them.
Well, let's hear about some of your other campaigns. You're now claiming, apparently, that you were going to always campaign for Cardiff not to play in red shirts. Now, I don't remember anything like that happening.
I'm telling
and if you did campaign about it, you lost the campaign because they were playing in red for a very long time.
I said it was a disgrace. I got in touch with the Football Association of Wales, asked them to stop it.
And what was their response?
Didn't reply to me. And I got my friends at the English Football Association, because, of course, Cardiff play in the under English Football Association rules. I got them to try and make an issue of it. They said there was nothing they could do. It was up to the will of the owner, Mr. Tan, isn't it? But nevertheless, I got a huge response. You ask you know, reach out to Cardiff fans and ask them how deeply involved I was in that campaign, because what I said was, for the culture of any club to be changed like that and to be, ruthlessly, diametrically changed from red to blue. Blue to red, I'm sorry.
Blue to red.
Yeah, was an absolute outrage. And now you'll find that the momentum I started there has built up to a point where the chairman of the club now, not Mr. Tan himself, has decided that they're going to have a referendum or change it back
But I
tomorrow.
thought the whole point of playing in red was it was meant to be bringing them good luck, because it was in that part of the world where Mr. Tan is from, Malaysia, red was thought to be a lucky colour.
Well, it's his favourite colour, so he wanted it changed. It was his football club, that's his prerogative. But, of course, it flew in the face of hundreds of years of tradition at Cardiff City Football Club. Yeah. And they've now decided to go back to their roots, it looks like. And there's, as I say, going to be a referendum on it in the morning. So you can only hope that they will go back to it.
When you say a referendum, what do you mean?
Well, there's a vote amongst interested parties tomorrow about whether to go back into...
But not including the fans, presumably?
Yeah, there are fans representatives involved, yes.
Well, they're bound to vote for it to go back to blue, aren't they?
Well, I would think so, yeah, I would think so. I mean... you know, I think the red and the luck thing, and then they got relegated, might have something to do with it as well, in my view.
Right.
because, I mean, it wasn't very lucky getting relegated, was it?
It wasn't very lucky at all, no.
Didn't bring
in
him
fact,
a lot of luck
it
there.
didn't bring him any luck at all.
No, didn't
now,
bring
let's
him.
talk about something else that's very, very much in the news, and that's
Right.
Frank Lampard. We were talking
Yeah.
about this last week,
Yeah.
that Frank Lampard, in my view, has pulled the wool over the Chelsea fans' eyes.
Well, I don't think Frank Lampard has.
I think he has. I don't think he went to Manchester City originally knowing that was where he was going to end up. But I think he did go to New York City FC, and then at some point or other during the process, discovered actually that he was being offered a chance to play at Man City, and
luck
took
for
it
him.
and grabbed it with both
Good luck
hands.
for him.
Well,
What's
what do
wrong
you mean
with
good
that?
luck for him? Because
What's wrong with
surely it's underhand, isn't it?
Not
I mean,
underhand
you're a
at
guy
all.
that's always telling me people should behave well, they should,
No, it's not
be
underhand.
transparent, they should do things out in the open.
If Chelsea had decided that Frank Lampard was still of use to them, he'd still be there. And as they decided he wasn't, Frank had every right in the world then to try and fix himself up with the most appropriate deal that suited him,
Yes.
his ambitions, his still unfulfilled ambitions, his geographical positioning,
Right.
and his mental approach
But
to
why
life.
didn't he just go straight to
mental
Manchester
approach
City
life.
then, in that case, if that's where he wanted to go?
Well, because he wasn't bought by Manchester City. He was bought by
Well,
the
he wasn't
people who
bought
own
by anybody,
Manchester
because
City.
nobody had to buy him. He was out of contract, wasn't he?
He was out of contract, but what I'm saying is somebody had to put up some money to pay his wages. And
That's what I mean, but they
that's
didn't have to pay
expression
Chelsea.
bought.
Yeah, but they didn't have to pay Chelsea any money.
Yeah, they didn't pay
So
Chelsea
he could have
anything.
gone wherever he wanted.
Yeah, well, maybe. But the point is, it's worked out for him to the extent. Now,
Well, it's worked out for him. That's
Yeah.
all very well, but it hasn't worked out very well for Chelsea because now he's in a
That's
position.
Chelsea's fault, they let
well,
him go.
It's not. No, it's not.
No, it
because
is, they let him go. They let him go.
Well, Chelsea, if for example, it's a bit like you saying,
Yes.
I've decided to leave the country and I'm going to go and work in America, right? And next thing you turn up working across the road for our nearest rivals.
Yeah.
Now that would be to me disingenuous.
no, it wouldn't.
Yeah, it would.
No, he wouldn't, because that would only have happened if the TalkSport management had come to me and say, Mike, thanks very much indeed for all you've done, but, things are changing and your surplus to requirements here. I have then got the right to go and try and fix up the best deal I can to pursue my career in whatever other area
Yeah, but if
or
you
avenue
said,
I can.
I'm going to go across to America and work in America, and you suddenly turn up having not done that, then surely that's a bit underhand, isn't it?
No, it's not. I mean, look,
That's the sort of thing you would do, isn't it?
look,
I'm not surprised you're in support of it.
Look, the chances of the TalkSport management offloading me anywhere are ludicrous.
No, it does seem ridiculous, doesn't
exactly.
it?
So,
It seems extraordinary.
let's
Well,
not
it's only a hypothetical
But,
situation we're
exactly,
talking about.
exactly.
Well, even more ridiculous is the idea that anyone else in this country would actually give you a job.
No. You find that very funny, do you?
I do, yeah.
That's very funny.
I do.
That's very funny.
By the way, I can now
Excuse me.
I can now announce
Yeah.
with some fanfare
Yeah.
that we have launched this new TV station.
What's it called?
It's called Two Mics TV.
Two Mics
and
TV,
It's on
love it.
YouTube,
Love it.
and we've finally managed
Yeah.
to get through all the gremlins. I'm sorry it's taken 45 minutes,
Right.
but we've now been able to put out the video of your ridiculous outfit and your ridiculous pink gloves.
This
And
is
so
not ridiculous.
Please go to
This
the
is
Two
to
Mics,
protect people.
and you will see precisely what Mr. Parry looks like. We'll put out a couple of stills of it as well because I have to tell you, it looks even more mad than he normally does.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
what were you going to say?
Before
forgotten,
you rudely
haven't you?
interrupted me,
Yeah.
I could easily work in America, no
Could you?
problem at all. Oh, I'd be a magnet to any radio station over there. You know that. You know
magnet?
because of my
Yeah, you could be a magnet, not a presenter.
Because of the way I look at life, which is different to the way Americans look at life.
Yeah.
But thirdly,
Hmm.
I think I should point out to you, as you are questioning my broadcasting capabilities,
Yes.
the man who
I'm not questioning your broadcasting capabilities. I'm fully aware of your
the man
talents in that
who
department.
looks after our economic coverage on this station,
Yeah.
Mr. Hank Potts.
Oh, yeah.
Massively senior executive at Barclays Bank,
Yes.
right?
There are many other banks that are possibly available, of course.
Complimented me on air the other day.
Oh, did he?
For
That sounded like
appearing
him.
on a discussion show on Radio 4, which just happens to be
Oh, was
one of
that-
the most
Oh,
cerebral...
was that the one that we talked about
so-
before?
cerebral-
When people were tweeting afterwards saying that what on earth has happened to the guest booking on this programme? You seem to be dumbing down the show. Is that
No.
the one you're talking about?
No.
When you were on as an
I was-
expert on obesity? Is
Yeah,
that the
an
one?
expert on obesity,
Yeah.
yeah. I wasn't aware that anybody ever tweeted
Yeah,
on
I
that.
told you.
rubbish.
I showed you the tweets.
Utter nonsense. You didn't show any
people
tweets
were
at
up in
all.
arms about it. Why do you think they haven't had you back on?
But it's only a week ago. So,
It was
I mean,
ages ago. It was last year.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
What
it
is it? Was it?
Yeah, it was last year.
Well, it was 2 weeks ago then.
Yeah.
But I mean,
and
what
by
I'm-
the way, whatever
what I'm
Hank Potts
saying
may
is-
be, the one thing he's not
Yeah.
is a critic of what he hears on the radio.
Yeah, but mate, it just proves that I can broadcast at any level with authority, including
Yes.
sitting here and having to, bat away your
Dressed in
infantile,
plastic.
accusations of me being
off my rocker.
you try to stop rustling
when
that
all I'm
stuff?
trying to do is stop people from getting cold and flu. At least I'm making a contribution to the well-being of society. The only contribution you make to the well-being of society is stuffing kebabs down your throat 24 hours a day.
I haven't even had a
You're
kebab
slob,
this year.
and you should realise that.
I haven't had a kebab all year. It's already January the 9th.
Yeah,
this is TalkSport
there's plenty
Extra
of the
Time.
year left yet, mate.
Check out at the Two Mics. You'll see
kebabery.
would you mind the Two Mics TV? You can find the video as well. We are the Two Mics, of course. Mike Parry 8 is his Twitter handle. Mine's at IROMG. Loads more coming up next. Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, and you're listening to the Two Mics on Extra Time. Coming up in this hour, we're going to go not just around the world, but we're going to actually find out what's going on out there in space as well, because apparently they've discovered a planet which is just like Earth. It's Earth's twin, in fact, and we're going to find out just how far away it is. Hey?
It's 247 light years away.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter how far away it is.
Of course it does. It's ridiculous to spend any time even looking at the blinking thing because it's unobtainable
Aren't
to
you
us.
interested in knowing whether there might be life out there?
No, I'm not, because it's never going to come here anyway. It's too far away.
Well, they might be more intelligent than you.
Well, if they are, they've got a spaceship that travels at the speed of light.
Well, they might have.
It'll still take 247 years for them to get here.
Well, maybe they could use a wormhole. You know, we'll talk about that anyway, because we've got an expert coming on. And also, we're going to talk about the leap second that's going to be added. It's going to wreak havoc with your computer, apart from everything else. You won't be able to use your phone or anything. Even your information device might go up the swanny. You're listening to the Two Mics on Extra Time. 08717 22 3344. I'm Mike Graham. He's Mike Parry. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is, of course, Mike Parry. Have a look at the Two Mics at the Twitter account, and you'll see a video of how this show started. Rather shambolically, I have to apologise for that, because Mr. Parry wasn't ready on account of this ridiculous outfit he's wearing while we're doing the show. Now, we've got loads and loads. We've got so many tweets to read out to you, by the way.
Yeah.
Let's start with this one from Darren, who's a Spurs fan. He says, "Hi, Mike. Happy New Year to you both." He said, "I'd like to know what the forward-thinking Mr. Parry thinks of juicing. It will cure obesity, and the government won't tell the poor people about it to keep them in their place. Overweight and unhealthy to fill the coffers of drug companies. Mike Parry should try the Ginger Zinger."
Ginger Zinger?
Yeah.
What's
that?
that?
You know what juicing is? You put everything into a big juicing machine. Have you ever had one of those?
Well, not a juicing machine, but I mean, we've had blenders for 30 or 40 or 50 years. Yeah. And all you do is put a load of fruit in a blender, switch it on.
I think it's not quite the same, is it?
Yeah, it is. And all the knives cut up all the fruit in the blender.
The blades, you mean, yeah.
The blades, that's right, yeah. And then you pour a bit of milk in or something, and it turns into
I think the point of it is you don't
juicy.
But I think the point is you don't put milk in it.
What are they called? Are they called a juicy?
A juicer.
A juice? No, what's the drink called?
Milkshake.
No, is it fruity or something? What do you?
Well, smoothie, you mean?
Smoothie, that's the one, yeah, something like that. And,
I don't think smoothies have got milk in them.
No, they have, of course they have,
Are they?
That makes them smooth. That's what makes them smooth,
Well, I thought the whole point of a juicer was that you don't put milk in it, you put juice in it, which is just from fruit. You put different fruits and vegetables in,
well, you
and
can.
People swear by it, and you could lose loads of weight. And I think that's what Darren's saying. He said you could actually lose weight and make the country a lot healthier.
Yeah, well, look, I don't mind people doing that, but the thing is, if that's all you
very
eat...
good of you.
By the way, talking about milk, I should remind you that
Milk McGuinness.
I've already...
Milk McGuinness. I was just remembering your MILF McGuinness blunder for a few weeks back. A few months ago, I suppose.
That wasn't a blunder.
MILF McGuinness.
It was just a mispronunciation.
Slip of the tongue.
You know, when you speak as many words as I do of wisdom, you're bound to get one or two wrong.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is that I've already warned you that this country faces...
You've warned me, have you?
Yeah. Could face starvation from a lack of meat.
Yeah.
Because all the shepherds who used to shepherd out in the country...
Yeah.
are now all living in the West End of London because they don't like getting cold out in fields anymore.
Every time I drive down to Sussex, I pass many fields full of many sheep.
Won't be so much
what I
longer.
noticed actually most recently is I went through a field, I went past a field of sheep, and there was maybe about 3 or 4 dozen sheep in this field. But there's about 5 black sheep. And normally you only see one, don't you?
Yeah,
that's
you do,
why
actually,
you get the black sheep of the family thing.
That's right, yeah.
This field had 5
5
of
are
them.
black sheep.
Yeah.
Can I have some wool?
No, have you any wool?
Have you any wool? 1 bag, 2 bags, 3 bags full.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's not 1 bag.
It is?
No, it's not. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting that there was 5 black sheep.
I found that interesting. I like the fact that your powers of observation have not entirely deserted you.
No.
Anyway, what I was going to say was that there's that big problem, right? That could happen. The other big problem is we could starve to death because shipping lanes might get so
Congested
that we won't be able to get. Did you see that ship that pulled into Felixstowe yesterday?
I was going to say exactly the same thing to you. Great minds think alike. The one from China.
Unbelievable.
Which is quarter of a mile long.
A quarter of a mile long, biggest container ship in the world, carrying something like... amazingly, 55,000 tons.
Yeah, 17,000 containers or something.
Yeah, 55,000 tons of materials.
I think the statistic was if you laid all the containers end to end, they'd be taller than Mount Everest.
That's right. 1,300 cars on board, which would supply dealerships for 6 months.
To be honest, after what happened to that Rolls-Royce ship, which tipped over in the Solent, is it?
Still there.
It's floated back up there now, isn't it?
No.
Oh, is it not yet?
Still lying on its side.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah, I don't even know if they're going to be able to float it back up, or they're going to have to scrap it.
Well, given what happened to that, I would have thought they might want to make ships any bigger, really, because surely they should make them smaller.
No, they make them bigger because of the volume and the cost. The bigger the ship, the cheaper it is to transport it.
It's not cheaper if it sinks, is it?
No, it isn't. One of them has never sunk. They're massive machines, as you say. Now then, so there could be the shipping problem, there could be the ship problem. The latest problem is that the competition now to produce cheap milk has become so fractious that farmers are going out of business. Dairy farmers are going out of business.
But you know who's putting them out of business? It's the supermarkets. The supermarkets are putting a squeeze on them, saying we're only going to pay X amount, and the supermarkets are buying all the milk. What you're going to end up with is what they have in America, where people like McDonald's own all the massive beef farms, and nobody else who actually works independently can make any money.
No, well, I think that is what is going to happen. Now, and by the way, you know when McDonald's started selling burgers in Russia?
I don't know when that was, but...
I know when it was. I went to the very first McDonald's burger bar in Red Square in Russia.
Uh-huh.
And I was with Richard Littlejohn.
The opening of it?
I went to the opening of it, Richard Littlejohn, yeah. They asked us to go over there and do it. It was great, actually. And
so this was another PR stunt for you, then?
Yeah, it was, yeah. But it was a great party. I mean, and
I'm sure it was.
If you wore
you call this journalism? Yeah, that is not journalism.
If you wore a McDonald's badge any time in Moscow for that week, doors opened in the Kremlin and everywhere else.
So you wore one, I suppose.
I wore one.
And
yeah,
you still got it.
Yeah, I went into restaurants.
Well, you're supposed to be a journalist. Supposed to be the secret of truth and justice. Not looking for a free hamburger and a drink everywhere you go.
No, went into restaurants. I didn't have to pay anything. Went into top nightclubs. Had women, draping themselves all over you. What are you laughing at? Yeah.
I just can imagine you and Little John in a nightclub in
Russia. No, it's true. And guess what?
What year was it that this happened?
Oh, it'd be about... I think it'd be about 1990. When did the wall fall?
Yeah, 89.
Yeah, I think it was about 1990. Yeah, I think it was, yeah. So... but the biggest advantage was, if you had access to McDonald's hamburgers, as I did, I have
access to McDonald's hamburgers.
No, it's true.
Brilliant.
It's true. You could actually, if you met a girl in London or something like that, she might want a nice handbag or diamonds. All the girls in Russia wanted was a quarter pounder with cheese. And
quarter pounder with cheese?
Yes, seriously.
It's like seeing out Pulp Fiction.
No, seriously.
You know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in Russia?
A Royale.
Yeah, Royale with cheese.
That's right, yeah. And so I'd nip along to McDonald's.
And what did they call a Big Mac? Because they call it Le Big Mac in France, don't they?
Do they? I don't know. I didn't know that. I'd nip along to McDonald's in Red Square, get a couple of quarter pounder with cheese.
What, and just walk around the streets?
Yeah, that's right.
Waving them around?
Well, no, you'd go into some...
absolutely disgraceful.
No, you'd go into some smart bar.
I mean, what sort of woman would you want to sleep with who would sleep with you for a hamburger?
And she would take this home and she'd say, my parents will be so impressed that I've got a McDonald's quarter pounder with cheese. Because they were in...
What, cold?
Yeah, because they warmed them up. They were dealing with them in currency.
Was this after you'd had your wicked way with them?
They were dealing with them in currency. McDonald's quarter pounds with cheese became a very valuable source of currency. And they were trading at like $10, then $15, then $20 US. It was amazing.
And were there queues outside or something?
Queues outside all over the place to try and get these...
and you, once again, using your kind of... the wiles that you learned in the Chester nightclub scene.
Yeah.
Just going through the velvet rope.
I just went through the back door. Because I had my McDonald's badge.
Astonishing. Did you not at any point feel embarrassed as a journalist to be doing that?
No.
To be in the pay of one of the biggest corporations in the world?
I've still got my McDonald's badge written in Russian, and it says, favoured McDonald person, and all that kind of stuff, yeah. And I'd just walk in the back door, get a couple of quarter pounders, and then saunter off to some cocktail bar in, one of the newly built hotels.
Did they not smell a bit when they were in your pocket?
Well, I put them in a bag, didn't I? I carried them around in a McDonald's bag. And then, everybody thought you were important because you had a McDonald's bag.
You should have stayed in Russia.
Why?
Because that's the kind of thing that would appeal to you.
Why?
I'm so important. Look at me. I'm carrying around a paper bag full of hamburgers.
Well, that was
the kind of thing
much
that you would be good at.
But anyway,
now,
look...
Peter says this, right? Judging by Porky's usual health status, his immune system is clearly weak. How about trying some healthy living? Try eating healthily for once. No tin stuff. Cut down on the carbs, the drink, etc. It would do you good. He's saying this is why you're not feeling well all the time.
No, it's because I got a cold, man.
Yeah, but you get more colds than the average
This
person.
is why I've got to wear my protective gear to try and stop getting the cold. Now, what I was going to say was...
what were you going to say?
The reason I got onto McDonald's was because when McDonald's opened up in Russia, the first thing they did was fly their own fields out to Russia, OK?
Uh-huh.
They dug up a load of fields in... whatever state is where their cows are bred in America, Montana or somewhere like that.
Right,
right?
yeah, Montana or Iowa or
That's
somewhere.
right, Iowa or something like that. They put them all aboard massive, great carrier aircraft, flew them to Russia, and then laid the fields out in the Russian countryside so that the cows, and they took the cows out there as well.
Oh, so they imported the cows?
They imported the cows, they imported the fields that the cows grazed in. The cows grazed in the field so that the taste of the McDonald's meat in Russia was exactly the same as everywhere else in the world. And the milk had to be the same as well.
Right.
So they took out dairy cows, again, fed on their own fields to produce the milk and all that. That's how amazing the McDonald's operation was.
Yeah.
Utterly
well,
incredible.
you might call it amazing, but sort of buying journalists is hardly the way to go, is it?
What do you mean?
Buying journalists favours. That's what you did. I
Nobody's buying favours.
No, you
this was-
wrote
this
some
was-
glowing piece about how wonderful McDonald's was in Moscow.
This was a vast international business story about McDonald's.
Do you remember what your intro was?
Breaking down the Iron Curtain.
Do you remember what the intro of the story was?
The intro of the story, it was something like,
The sky was inky black.
No,
The
ridiculous.
snow was setting on the red square.
You're taking the mickey out of my
like
Brazil
a tin
book
of
again,
white
aren't you?
polyurethane.
No, it was something like, Red Square rocked to the, to the quarter pounder with cheese
Pathetic.
yesterday as McDonald's smashed through the Iron Curtain to embrace, new business markets around the world in one of the biggest developments in the commercial world since the end of the Second World War, something like that.
Brackets, this trip paid for by McDonald's. Absolutely shameless. Unbelievable. He's Mike Porky Parry. I'm Mike Graham. We're the two Mikes. More coming up next.
I'll have a hamburger, for which I will gladly pay you Tuesday.
I remember doing the crime war, drinking those moments when the blackness would hit me and the void would be calling. Let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. Do you know what that song is?
No.
You don't know the Time Warp?
No.
You've never heard of the musical that it came from?
So I'm just guessing.
Yeah, go on, have a guess.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? What are you laughing at? What's wrong with you?
No, it's the Rocky Horror
Oh, was it
Picture
the Rocky
Show.
Horror? Yeah.
Or the Rocky Horror Show.
Well, Chitty
depending on
Chitty
whether it's on
Bang Bang
stage.
was about a time warp, wasn't it? It's about
No, it
going
was
back
about
in
a flying
time.
car.
The child catcher and all that.
That was a flying car.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, they were going back in time.
Yeah, okay. All right.
God.
I'll accept that.
By
then.
the way, you know the quiz is on one of your favourite subjects this week.
What is it?
20th century British authors.
Oh, that's okay.
Which
Good.
you say
Good.
you're a very, very
I am.
great expert
I am.
on.
I am. I'm looking forward to that, mate. That'll be great.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Now, coming up now, though, we're going to speak to a man who is a very, very clever man because he is Steve Allen and he's a programmer with an observatory in
Excellent.
California called the Lick Observatory.
Lovely.
He's going to explain exactly what the leap second is all about.
Good.
Because you were trying to explain it before.
Yeah.
I don't think you did very well.
I did.
Because the problem with this leap second situation is that it upsets the atomic clock.
Yes.
And all the computers that are in the world might actually be thrown by the fact that, the Earth is actually spinning at a slightly different speed. But we'll let Steve explain it better. Steve, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning to you.
Thanks,
very
very
good
much for joining us. Can you kind of, please forgive my rather ham-fisted attempt at explaining what the leap second is all about. Could you kind of put it in a nutshell for us?
Well, until the 1960s, the fundamental unit of time that everyone used was 1 day. And what we did was to chop that day up into hours and minutes and seconds. But the day was the fundamental unit. We watched the Earth turn around once, that was 1 day.
Right.
We watched it again, it was another day. But in the 1950s, you guys in England managed to invent the cesium chronometer.
Mm-hmm.
The better chronometer than anyone had ever had before. And it was far better than the Earth at staying a uniform tick, tick, tick. And so people started saying, it's intolerable that we have this day that changes and we keep changing the second.
Mm-hmm.
Because we keep changing the second all the time, and we don't want to do that. We want to have seconds that are the same all the time. So what they did was decide that every second would be defined by cesium. And every day would be defined by watching the Earth spin. And that means that seconds and days are not connected to each other and haven't been since 1972.
So if I was to say to you how many seconds are... Why do you keep going,
Well, I'm listening to Steve, he's an expert, and I very much enjoy hearing his knowledge,
Steve,
sharing his knowledge.
So if I said to you, how many seconds are there in a day, there isn't really an answer to that, is that what you're saying?
Well, there are atomic seconds. There are as many as you need to have. And sometimes you need to have one more, which is that leap second. Otherwise, the calendar would get off. Because how do you tell when one day becomes the next?
How do you tell when one day becomes the next, Mike?
Well, because you wake up on Wednesday after Tuesday, after going to bed on Tuesday night.
Yeah, but you guys are up all night. And
Yeah, but I mean...
You know when that
Huh? No.
I told you
midnight.
Steve was cleverer than you.
No. Hang on. Look, I know it's Friday now, Steve, because I'm doing this show with Mike, and when I go home,
It'll still be Friday.
It'll still be Friday, but there'll be newspapers on my doormat which say Friday, so that reminds me it's Friday. If you see what I mean. I mean that is the normal life pattern of most people in the Western world, isn't it?
Right, but say you're paying your car insurance, and when does it expire?
When does what expire?
They care about exactly when it expires. It expires on some day, and when does that day start?
1 minute past midnight, or 1 second past midnight.
Right.
Yeah.
On what day, though?
So,
What day,
Right, but
what
that's-
day does it expire?
the point is that we use our clock
Yeah.
to tell when the next day comes.
Yeah.
But our clock has been changed to something that only listens to cesium.
Yeah.
So if we only listen to cesium,
What's cesium?
then it wouldn't...
Yeah, what is cesium?
Cesium atoms.
Cesium what?
Cesium atoms.
Sorry, what's cesium atom?
Well, cesium atoms.
Atoms.
Atoms. I'm sorry, atoms, like molecules and things. Yeah, I see. Yeah, okay, that's great. But all this is,
see it all.
Steve, all this is very technical. You're talking to us in scientific language. On the day-to-day, man in the street language, we know when one day ends and another day begins. We don't care if it's 1 second, longer in a space of 500 years or something. I mean, you go to bed on Tuesday night, you get up on Wednesday morning. Quite as simple as that. You do the washing on the Monday, you hoover around on a Tuesday, you wash the car on Wednesday, on Thursday you go shopping to Tesco's, and on Friday you buy some booze in for the weekend. I mean, that's what everybody does.
No, it isn't.
It is.
That's close enough.
Yeah.
It was a big deal in the 1960s. It was a big deal that we still had to keep days defined by watching the Earth spin.
Yeah.
Even though we also had to have seconds defined by cesium.
Yeah, but the world hasn't stopped spinning,
Yeah,
Steve.
but isn't it spinning
The world
at a
hasn't
different?
stopped
But isn't
spinning.
it spinning at a different speed now as well?
The Earth is spinning at a different speed almost every day. It speeds up, it slows down. If the wind blows faster, the Earth spins slower. If the oceans spin faster, then the Earth spins slower. And if the core of the Earth, the nickel iron that's down there with the magnetic fields and all, spins faster, then the Earth spins slower.
Yeah. So, Steve, are you...
So the speed of the Earth is weather.
Right, so have we now got to live by a variable clock and a variable calendar and a variable measurement of the length of each day and the speed of the Earth, because we're now living under completely false premises?
Well, that had been the way since antiquity.
Right. Well, so
You've
why?
been living in false premises for years.
So why do we
Give me the
regulate?
false premise.
Why do we regulate and formalise it if it's a completely inaccurate representation of the movement of the Earth?
There's two things. There's the way things always were, and then there's the way things are. The way things are is that your GPS unit needs seconds that are all exactly every second the same as every other.
Right.
And that's how you can tell where you are.
And for
It's
computers...
getting beyond me, this.
Well, of course it's beyond you.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised about that. But if you listen properly, you might learn something.
I've been
because
listening.
the most important thing for all of this, Steve, presumably, is for computers, which are obviously
Okay,
much more exact than anything else we have.
Right. So then we go back to another thing you guys in Britain invented, which was standard time. You did that to the railroads.
Yeah.
Did that because when you have a railroad and you have one train, it doesn't really matter when you run the train. But if you have a railroad and two trains, then it matters that you don't run the two trains in the same place at the same time. They really need to know where they're supposed to be. So it matters that you know what time it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Now move forward 150 years, and a computer is basically a whole lot of trains on a whole lot of tracks. And they're all running together and switching from one track to another, and you really don't want to have a train crash.
Yeah, I
So
see.
when does this leap second get added specifically?
At the end of June 30.
June 30, OK.
June 30.
So that's
okay,
the date we'll have to keep in mind. Steve, listen, I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Steve.
I apologise for Mr. Parry's complete thickness about
No,
not being able to grasp precisely what was going on. Well, you were sitting
Steve's
there
a
going,
scientist. Yeah, but he's I was trying to take it in, wasn't I, and think about it before I responded to him. I didn't want to appear to be ignorant.
I don't think you took it in particularly well.
We also invented
when you were
Greenwich...
talking about that guy Adam Cesium.
Adam Cesium, yeah, I don't know what he's talking about there. We also invented, of course, Greenwich Mean Time.
Well, we did. That's why they call it Greenwich Mean Time.
That's right.
In Greenwich. Have you ever been down to the Meridian Line?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, it's near the Royal Naval College.
Yeah, but it's up on the hill.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Have you ever had your picture taken there?
No.
Why not?
Well, I'm not into taking
I don't think you've been there.
I don't.
Everybody who goes there has their picture taken.
No,
you put one foot on either side of the Meridian Line and you stand there and you have a picture taken.
No, I'm not into selfies to try and promote myself, on daft things like Twitter and all that kind of stuff, even though Twitter's a very good service, obviously, but it has to be used responsibly, not for self-promotion.
Well, funny enough, I've got some tweets here, particularly regarding that cargo ship, the Hori Osaka.
Oh, yeah, Hori Osaka,
Apparently it's been refloated by itself and is now in harbour and secure.
Where?
Well, you didn't say where it is, but you said it was still on its side.
I thought it was still on the sandbank.
Well,
it was when I last looked.
Maybe you haven't moved your leap second on and time has passed you by.
Which port it in?
He doesn't say. Well, I'm sure we can check it, but that's from William. Bill says this, Mike Moscow Mutton Parry, the seeker of truth and gherkins in Glasnost, Russia. Legendary. And then Liam has sent out a nice picture of a McDonald's bag. Says the ultimate fashion accessory, a sign of great status and affluence in Russia.
It was, believe me. I'll tell you what, Mike, you find out where that ship is, right?
Yeah.
And get down there quick, because you might be able to get yourself a cut-price Bentley.
I don't want a cut-price Bentley.
Because those Bentleys that were on, they shifted, obviously, as the ship keeled over.
And they were coming in or going out? They were
going out. They were going off to Bremen.
Well, they have left-hand drive then, weren't they?
Not necessarily, because they could have been going to India, which is right-hand drive. Could have been going to Japan, which is right-hand drive. Yeah, Bremen is the distribution point in Europe for all the luxury cars that go around the world, you see. They could have been going to South Africa, which is right-hand drive.
Right.
They could have been going to Australia, which is right-hand drive,
well, all I'm reporting to you is what...
is Australia right-hand drive?
I think they changed it, actually. I think it's left-hand drive now.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah.
Is it?
Japan, I think, was right-hand drive, but also changed it. I think Sweden may be the only other country that's right-hand drive.
No, it's not. No.
Well, I'm sure
South Africa.
Our fans on Twitter. South Africa's right-hand drive, is it?
I'm just trying to remember.
Well, you were there for the World Cup.
I was, yeah. I think it is, yeah. I think it is, yeah, definitely.
All right, well, please tell us. Tweet us at the Two Mics, at Mike Perrier, at IROMG. Coming up, we're going to talk an awful lot about how good Porky is around the house, because, of course, Phil Neville revealed that he couldn't even make a cup of coffee.
Didn't have to make a
so
cup
we're
of
going to have
coffee.
a little test for Mr. Parry.
Good idea.
Coming up next on
Good idea.
Talksport.
That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy. Lie down on the couch. What does that mean? You're a nut. You're crazy in the coconut. What does that mean? That boy needs therapy.
This is Talksport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out, of course. We are now on YouTube. Go look for the Two Mics TV, which is out there, where you'll see a whole load of
TV. That sounds good.
A load of clips from the live shows, a bunch of stuff from earlier on this week. We've got your amazing rendition of Maggie May on there as well from the Christmas party.
Well, I thought that was pretty good, actually. I won't,
Matt Holland still hasn't recovered from that.
Well, he was very lucky to be involved in it.
By the way, during the week we were doing this story about initiations at football clubs and how the PFA is trying to outlaw them. And apparently, and I didn't get a chance to check with Matt Holland, he didn't get back to us, he's dead scared of all animals. He won't let cats and dogs in his house.
Is that right?
And people think you're strange. I mean, that's pretty odd, isn't it?
Well, I wouldn't have a cat in my house because they drop hairs all over the place, and that kind of stuff.
You get a short-haired cat, of course. Doesn't drop so many hairs.
I don't know about those. I don't like cats. I think cats are sly and calculating, devious and... trying to...
Well, he's a perfect companion for you, then.
Yeah, trying to instill fear in you, whereas a dog would be okay.
A cat tries to instill fear in you.
Well, I think a cat does, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think they're evil?
Well, I don't think they're evil, but I think they play mind games with you because they try to run the household, don't they, to their benefit. They're a bit like public utilities and public bodies. They're run for the benefit of the people who work in them, not for the benefit of the public they serve, in my view.
Well, you must have a very clever cat to have the cat running the house.
Yeah, no, cats do. Cats are sly like that. I mean, they can mess you about. Whereas the dog, of course, you can train perfectly.
I know all about
I saw
that.
this fantastic story where the way they train dogs these days to do things is fantastic, mate. There's a little girl who has diabetes.
Yeah.
And the problem her parents, her mum and dad, have had ever since she was born, she's about 6 or 7 now, is that they both have to get up every 2 hours in the middle of the night, or alternatively get up, to check that her blood sugar levels haven't risen or fallen.
Right.
Because she could literally die, you know, and they have to keep checking it. Of course, their life is a nightmare because they never get a proper night's sleep. Now they've got this dog, and the dog can sense the blood sugar levels in the little girl going up or down just by lying next to her bed.
So he wakes them up then when they need to do something.
Exactly. So instead of having to get up every 2 hours to check, maybe once a night or maybe once every 3 nights now, the dog comes and alerts them that the blood sugar level's gone down or gone up. But the dog can just sense it.
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
The dogs are amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely
well, I mean,
incredible.
Now when I take the kids and the dog out for a walk, and the kids take to sort of going hiding in the woods and stuff, if I just tell him to go and find them, he goes and finds them.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And he finds them. I mean, I just say their names and he goes and finds them.
Well, dogs apparently have 5,000 more respirator things in their nose. What are they called?
Yeah.
And,
what do you mean, sort of, in their nostrils, you're talking
in the
about?
nostrils, that's right, than a human being to detect smells.
Yeah.
And therefore they can, and that's why they can do this job, because the body gives out a certain very, very minor sort of change in the odour of the skin or something if the blood sugar level's going down or going up or whatever.
Yeah. Well, my dog,
it is.
whenever he's outside or inside, his nose is constantly sort of sniffing because he smells things that we can't smell. In fact, one time over Christmas, I was quite late on and I was having a glass of Woodford Reserve, which is a very nice bourbon whiskey. I don't know if you've ever had Woodford Reserve. Quite expensive, very nice.
Yeah,
anyway,
sounds good.
I had it in a glass with some ice, and I put it under his nose. And you've never seen him react like this before. He kind of leapt back because it was such a strong smell, and didn't want to come anywhere near it.
Oh, really? Frightened of it?
Yeah, frightened of it because it smelled so strong. Didn't like it.
They've got dogs now which actually detect cancer in patients before the patient's been diagnosed by a doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, that is incredible.
Right.
That, I mean, how
and
long
we've seen
we...
the work they do in sort of, in earthquakes and all that kind of thing as well, trying to find people.
the famous story I told you, I think I've told you before, is that when the Twin Towers came down after the, terrorist attack, obviously we've been talking about terrorism tonight in Paris and comparing the two, but when the towers came down, they sent in all the dogs with the body...
The sniffer dogs,
sniffer dogs to go and find the bodies. They couldn't find any bodies. Not a single body was recovered from the Twin Towers because they were all evaporated in the immense heat and the burning. Right. So they had to put all the dogs down. The dogs went mad because dogs, which are working dogs, like to achieve something.
Yeah.
They get a sense of fulfilment. They get a biscuit if they find a body or something like that, if you see what I mean. And because they couldn't find any, the dogs went mad and they had to all be put down.
Yeah.
And
shocking.
That's just the way that when a dog's trained to do a job. Like if you get a dog that's a blind dog,
a blind dog.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. A dog for the blind.
Dogs.
A guide dog.
Guide dogs are always good to anyone.
No, it's not actually. A dog wouldn't be able to see anything, would it? No, what I'm saying...
a seeing eye dog, as they call them in America.
A seeing eye dog? Oh, yeah, OK. And their job is to do it. Now, when they are then retired...
Sean used to work here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And they retired.
Threw up on Alan Sugar.
Eh?
Threw up on Alan Sugar.
He threw up on Alan Sugar's shoes.
Famously,
that's right. Yeah, he did, yeah.
Chip, his name was, wasn't he?
Chip, yeah, that's right. But after 3 or 4 years, they get stressed out just doing that job. It's too hard. They then have to be retired. But they can't be retired with their owner because they were a working dog. They have to go and stay like hundreds of miles away on a farm or something like that.
because the owner has to get a new one.
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. The owner has to get a new one, but he can't keep it as a pet and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Amazing dogs. I mean, we should have realised hundreds of years ago that dogs have these fantastic properties. We're only learning now. We're only learning now.
Well, you say that, but I mean, it may well be that in times gone by, dogs are actually used for all those things when now science has kind of overtaken that.
Well, they couldn't have been used to spot cancer hundreds of years ago because we didn't know that cancer existed.
Well, no, but they might have been used in ancient times to spot whether people were going to become ill.
Yeah, people didn't get ill in ancient times because...
Of course they did.
No, they didn't. Cavemen don't get ill.
What did you say the plague was?
No, yeah, but I mean that was a viral disease. What I'm saying is, people didn't get cancer. People didn't get heart attacks.
Well, they probably did.
No, they didn't.
It's just not been categorised.
No, they didn't get appendicitis. They didn't.
They probably did.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't get any of those. No, they didn't get any of those.
On what basis do you say that?
On the basis that you've never read an historical report of anybody dying of a heart attack.
Well, because they didn't necessarily know what that was.
You've never read an historical report of somebody withering away and dying of cancer because you didn't used to get it. Because
no, I don't think that's true.
No.
They just didn't know what people were dying of. That was all.
No. Since the age of processed food, these diseases have come into like modern society.
Well, why do you eat so much processed food then?
Well, everybody eats processed food.
I don't.
Yes, they do.
No, I don't.
Rubbish.
I don't eat any processed food.
Do you eat cheese?
I do eat cheese.
That's processed.
No, it isn't.
It's
not the cheese I eat.
It is.
I don't eat processed cheese.
It's a processed.
No.
Do you eat ham from Tesco's?
No, I don't.
Well, that's processed.
Yeah, I don't eat that either.
Well, you eat something like that.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
I buy everything I buy everything organic. That's what I buy.
Yeah, well, that's just a fancy way of doing things.
No, it's not.
That's so you can boast to your mates
No,
that
it's not.
you eat organic
it's because
foods.
it's not processed.
Spend twice as much on the same food, and they call it organic.
Because it's not processed.
Rubbish.
And by your own account, it's
rubbish.
It's not going to give me cancer.
No. But what I'm saying is people didn't get cancer years ago because they ate perfectly natural organic stuff.
Yeah.
And they didn't live in houses with central heating, which caused people all sorts of problems,
Right.
you know.
And also, they didn't live very long either.
Didn't live very long. That's absolutely right. They didn't live very long. They were usually dead by about 28. Yeah, no, that's
28.
absolutely right.
Well,
yeah.
that's another reason. Now, let me read you a couple of tweets that we've got
Okay.
here. One from Woodenhead. He says,
Woodenhead, that's an interesting name.
Listening to Mike Parry trying to understand that scientist reminds me of Homer Simpson.
Oh, really? Homer Simpson had quite a lot to offer to the modern world, in my view. He was a misunderstood man.
Yeah.
Very misunderstood man.
And Peter, who lives in Sweden, has tweeted us saying, we've been driving on the right-hand side here in Sweden since 1967.
Well, there you go.
But chaotic on the day.
Yes, I remember the day of the I remember the day of the switchover.
What do you mean? There's you sent a picture of everybody driving around all over the place.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you mean you know? You said you weren't sure.
I was sure. Because I remember reading when they switched over that night, and they had to switch over all the road signs, they had to repaint all the roads, and the roundabouts had to be redesignated. Oh, no, I remember it well.
And Neil says, still right-hand drive here in New Zealand and Australia.
There you go. I told you, in Australia.
What about South Africa?
South Africa, I'm sure, is on the right-hand side.
Why don't you know? You were there.
I know, and I'm
I
imagining...
can't remember what side of the road you drove on.
Yeah, I'm imagining...
Why are you now putting your head in your hands?
To focus my memory.
Yeah.
Now, I broke the cycle of poverty for a boy who was a taxi driver, and it was a right-hand
What did you
drive...
break his cycle for?
Eh?
You broke his cycle?
Cycle of poverty.
Oh, the cycle of poverty.
Cycle of poverty.
Oh, right, I thought you maybe
See,
had
you can't take anything seriously, can you?
No, not really, no.
So what happens is...
You can't remember what side of the road you were driving on. How can you remember the story?
I can. This reminds me.
Oh, you're going to now remember?
Yeah, so we get into this cab, you see, I'm going to the airport, OK? And I'm not coming home, I'm flying off to some other England game or something. And the guy says, and I remember now, because I was sitting in the back on the left-hand side, talking to him diagonally in his driving seat, OK? And he said, I'm afraid...
So he was driving with his... he was on the right-hand side of the car?
Yes, that's right.
Same
yes.
as us, then?
That's
So
right.
driving on the left?
That's right. That's right. So anyway, he said, excuse me, sir, we have to go and... divert off the road to my friend's house to get some petrol. And I said, what do you want to go to your friend's house for petrol for? And I thought, hang on, am I being hijacked here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you get suspicious.
You do.
And you have to be on your guard, you know. So he said, because I haven't got any petrol and I haven't got any money to buy any petrol, but I've spoken to my friend on my mobile phone and he will lend me 2 gallons of petrol.
Right.
I said, right, OK. I said, but there's petrol stations on this road. He said, I haven't got any money.
Right.
I said, that doesn't matter. Pull into that petrol station, the next one, and we'll fill up your car with petrol. He said, we can't do that. I haven't got any money. I said, well, I have got money.
Right.
So do that. So he pulled in. He said, I cannot...
And did they have people giving you the petrol, or was it self-service?
He put the petrol in, yeah. So he said, if you give me the fare now to pay for this petrol, I will have no money for food for my family tonight. And I said, no. I said, I'll pay for the petrol.
Where was he from, this guy?
He's from South Africa.
Oh, right. I just wondered what that accent was.
No, he's in South Africa, isn't he? You know, he's South African. I don't know what he's talking like. Anyway, the point of my story is...
What is the point of the story?
Is that the boy couldn't get the concept in his head that I was going to pay for his petrol.
In addition to the fare?
Yeah, exactly. He said, but then you won't give me any fare. I said, I will.
Right.
I said, I will, honestly. I said, I'm very happy to help you out here.
Right.
He said, what do you mean?
That's very kind of you.
Yeah. I said, look, you can't get any petrol because you haven't got any money. Now, I've just paid for a tank of petrol. It wasn't expensive, by the way. It was about 20...
Probably quite cheap down there.
About $20 or something like that, $25, something like that, whatever that is in rand. And I said, and when we get to the airport, I'll pay you the fare. So I paid him fare plus another, like 50 rand or something, I don't know. And I said, and I hope that helps. And he was in tears. And he was almost on his knees, honestly, because I'd broken the cycle of poverty for him.
Well,
because
not
it
necessarily.
Meant, yes, I had.
You broke the cycle of poverty for a night.
No. It meant for the first time in weeks, he was able to actually claim a fare without having to go and spend it all on petrol. Yeah. And that for the next 2 days, he'd be able to drive around on the tank of petrol I'd given him, collect fares, accumulate money, feed his family, maybe even, buy his children a toy or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd revolutionised the boy's life.
For about 3 days?
No, because then if he kept that up and saved a couple of dollars a day, then he was going to have a new way of life. I revolutionised his life for him.
Maybe next time you
I was happy to do so.
Maybe next time you get down there, we've built a new casino in Sun City.
No, I was happy to do so.
Amazing.
I was like, honestly, I was like a messiah to him almost. If you see what I mean?
Yeah, like
I came
a
out of
messiah.
nowhere and changed his life.
Yeah.
Huh?
How
That's
proud
pretty
you
good,
must
that.
be.
I am proud.
That is
I am proud.
Amazing. Incredible stuff.
Yeah.
Porky changes people's lives. Coming up next, we're going to be finding out about life on another planet, the twin of Earth, which is somewhere out there, millions and millions of light years away. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics. Don't forget, you can find us at the Two Mics, at Mike Parry 8 and at what am I going to say? IROMG. Also, you can text us at 81089 and email us via the website talksport.com. Now, we were talking, Mike, a little bit earlier about the leap second and how the Earth spins at a different speed, which I wasn't aware of, actually.
Oh, I was.
Oh, you were, really?
I told you all about it before the expert came on.
Oh, yes.
Steve's name was.
That's right, yeah. Well, now we've got another expert coming on called Rob Simone, who is an American ufologist, and he has his own talk show over in the States as well, because recently it was discovered that Earth might have a few more nearly twin planets outside of the solar system.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously, as we search for extraterrestrial life, which you've told me before you believe in, you know, Rob's going to tell us what he makes of this new discovery. Would you stop rattling about in that plastic, please?
Sorry, that's my protection suit.
Rob, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mike and Mike. How are you?
Yeah,
very well indeed.
Very
thank you.
well indeed. Now, this is quite a startling discovery, isn't it? This new planet that might well be a twin of Earth. What do you make of it?
Well, first of all, I want to commend you. I've been listening for the past hour, and your expose on cesium atomic clocks and Russian McDonald's franchises was just exquisite.
Yes.
It's all the news you need. Really.
It is. And now added to that, we're going to include you in this conversation, and we're going to talk about extraterrestrial life, for heaven's sake.
Right. Well, I'm a bit of an expert. I've been on the air in London, actually, 104.4 FM for 10 years.
All right.
Excellent.
And I talked to all the experts. And, people might be surprised to know that we've been discovering possibly inhabitable or planets that could support life as long as Hubble has been searching the cosmos.
Wow. That is
at the
amazing.
rate of maybe at like 5 or 10 a month.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing. But now where we've got to, Rob, is we found this new planet which we think, because of its distance from its own sun, might have very similar properties to planet Earth. The only problem being, as far as I can see, Rob, is it's 247 light years away.
Yeah, the Kepler space mission has been finding these planets that are in what they call the Goldilocks zone, which means planets that are just close enough to a sun or a star that makes them warm enough, not too cold, where if they had water, they could support life. And there could be some in our own galaxy. There could be some in other galaxies. But are you guys familiar with the Drake equation?
No.
I'm
Tell
not,
us,
no.
please.
What is that?
Okay, well, it's a very simple thing. This fellow named Dr. Frank Drake, a mathematician, said, let's just count up all the stars we have in our galaxy. And then around them, let's say how many planets could be around them. And then he went down the list and said, okay, of everything that we know, this is how many planets could support life and communicatable life that is intelligent. And that number in our galaxy alone is 500 million civilizations, potentially.
What, 500 million planets?
Planets that could support life.
Well, hang on, that's incredible. How far away is the nearest one?
Well, they're really far. I mean, I mean,
what's the point of even bothering to see whether they do support life? We're never going to get there, are we?
I mean, they could come here, surely.
No, they can't come here. If they come here, they'd be here by now, wouldn't they?
Huh? Well, a lot of people think they have. I mean, let's look at all the evidence.
What, Men in Black?
That... Well, that's quite a pop culture reference. But what I was going for was the more of the countless references to star people in all of the ancient civilizations, in all of the indigenous religions, in all the sacred texts. There has been one common theme of every civilization, and that is that there is this connection. There is these visitations from people from the heavens.
Yeah. Well, you've been to the Atacama Desert in the caves, right? And you've seen those drawings.
Rob, I've been to the Atacama Desert in Chile, and I've been to the cave where you see these drawings on the wall of people who look like spacemen, with space bubble helmets on, drawn like thousands of years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. When you actually start looking at it from a modern standpoint, which I have done, I was part of an organization that sued the government to get information from the government about this UFO cover-up. And what we discovered is that every single branch of the military has files about UFOs, including the British government. A good friend of mine, Nick Pope, ran the UFO desk.
Oh, we know Nick Pope. Yeah, we have had Nick Pope on the show before.
Yeah, sure. So it's the world's biggest secret that really isn't a secret.
Yeah.
And this latest story from Sky News really points out the fact that, there are these planets, and they certainly could support life. And here's the kicker, that these planets could have been supporting life that is over 1 million years old. What would Earth look like after 1 million years? We could hop around these planets in that time, surely.
Yeah. Now, just to get this into a scale, Rob, on the size of what we're talking about here, the galaxies, the universe, whatever you want to call it, I am told there are more planets out there than there are grains of sand in the Sahara Desert. Now, is that true?
Well, I haven't counted them, but I would say it's a pretty good approximation. What we're talking about is hundreds of millions of planets that could potentially that have the right distance to a sun. And here's the other side of the equation. Earth is not special. The ingredients, the building blocks to make life, the amino acids and the compounds from exploding supernovas, the heavier elements, are not just collected on our planet. They're scattered through the cosmos.
Yeah, but we haven't found anywhere else that's got any water, have we? That's within.
But we've only relatively looked in a very small area.
Well, of course we have, but there's no point in looking in any other area because we haven't got time to get there and still be alive. You know, if a man gets on the spaceship and gets off it, 112 years later when he hits the first planet, he's going to be a long time dead. So, what's the point of exploring space if you die when you're there?
Unless, as I said to you earlier, I don't know what you think about this, Rob, but unless we use wormholes. And we travel in time.
What's a wormhole?
Have you not seen Interstellar?
No.
Interstellar, yeah, you could. It's like using a black hole to sort of navigate through time and space.
It's kind of like an escalator to another time.
It's theoretical.
Yeah,
but who's to say we can't come up with an engine that can go really fast and put everybody into sleep, or maybe build a spaceship that's so big that it's a floating colony. It's a floating Earth.
Well, you could do that, I suppose. But then again, I see what you mean. And then you might hit another planet in 5 generations' time or something like that.
Why not 1,000 generations? Certainly, it's not possible now. But give us 1,000 years, and I bet dollars to donuts, to quote Homer Simpson, that it would be possible. And, but here's another side of the coin.
Yes.
That, there might be a lot of life out there, but it could present sort of a threat to our world.
Well, that's the other thing.
Of course it could.
Because could it be hostile? That's the thing.
Could be hostile.
Right.
Could be...
Who knows? Maybe, it could be a real threat to, our species. Who knows? Maybe they're Millwall supporters.
Mind you, it couldn't be
absolutely right.
It couldn't be more hostile than our own species is to itself, though, could it?
You never know.
Just to be philosophical for a moment.
Yeah.
You never know, but...
you do never know. But, Rob, getting back to this new planet we've discovered... If it's 247 light years away, which is what I read today, I mean, that you can't just comprehend the sort of distance it is away. Nobody's ever going to get there anyway in this world. So what's the point of discovering it? What a waste of time and money.
Well, discovery for discovery's sake, I don't think is ever a waste of money. I mean, we're splitting the atom. We have these particle accelerators that are teaching us the fundamental building blocks of our, of our nature, of our existence.
We don't need to know that. We don't need to know that.
Well, yeah, but people like you would have said there's no point in sending a ship over to the other side of the world because it will fall off the end of the horizon.
Don't be ridiculous.
You're a flat earther.
Don't be ridiculous.
You are.
In fact, I must say, Rob, when you talked about the Drake theory before, I hoped you were talking about Sir Francis Drake because he, in fact, was a man who... what are you laughing at? Why are you laughing? Because he is a man who, in fact, did prove that the Earth was round by going round the world.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. And
yeah, exactly. So he's more famous Drake than your Drake. I don't know who your Drake is, but he sounds like a bit of a numpty to me. Our Drake is Sir Francis Drake, one of the greatest pioneers.
Why are you having a go at Rob?
I'm not having a go at Rob.
Yes,
No, I'm not. Rob.
I'm sorry about
go
this,
with Dr. Frank Drake.
Yeah.
Look, Dr. Frank Drake was one of these boffins that sat down and crunched the numbers. I mean, you don't have to like what the numbers say, but you can't dispute it because it's
Frank,
just
and also, Frank Drake is not that different from Francis Drake, is it? Actually?
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I reckon
it could be related.
Well, no, I should imagine his parents named him after Sir Francis Drake because Sir Francis Drake was the original pioneer. He's a guy, by the way, who trekked across Central America to rob the Spanish of all their gold brought it back to this country, Rob. And here's something you probably didn't know. He brought so much gold back that Elizabeth I had to invent the Bank of England to put it in.
That's rubbish.
And we built the Bank of England in Threadneedle Street and put all the gold in there. That was the start of the Bank of England.
He brought a load of tobacco back. That's what he brought back.
No, he brought all the gold back, honestly. He robbed it from the Spaniards. It's a good thing, because they plundered it from elsewhere.
Anyway, Rob, I'm sorry, this is what happens quite often. We get a guest on who wants to talk about a subject, and he just tries to kind of monopolise the conversation. Anyway, so, I mean, is anyone reacting to this in the scientific community, i.e., are they thinking about trying to get something that they could send out there in terms of a probe of some kind?
Well, he won't get there for 247 light years.
We don't want to hear from flat earthers. Carry on,
No,
Rob.
I think the premise of your question is flawed, insofar as there is no talk or desire to build any craft to go anywhere. What we're discovering is that there are inhabitable planets, and we're discovering more and more of them. And they have the technology, if they've been around thousands of years longer than we have, to get to us. That's why we've been sending out these radio signals. That's why we've been doing these SETI programs, spending millions of dollars of listening and sending out radio signals, because radio signals travel at the speed of light.
Well, if they hear this show, they're never going to come down here, are they?
Well, I wouldn't say they wouldn't.
But Rob, we've never had a response to a radio signal. We've never had.
We don't know that.
We do know that because...
Well, you might not have had one, but we don't know if we, as Earthlings, have had one.
We have never had a recorded signal come back saying, hi, Earth, this is... You know, what are you laughing at? Why are you laughing? You know...
Sorry. I spat my water at that. Hi, Earth.
Yeah, hi, Earth. You know, this is old...
It's the Martians here.
No. Hi, Earth, this is Bonjo from Planet Zog, and, you know, we come in peace, or something like that, you know. I mean,
we'll see you in 47 million years.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. We've never had a message
Mike,
like that.
I can tell you've given this a great deal of thought. And it's true. We haven't heard anything yet. But remember, you've got to think of this on a whole different time scale. You've got to think of this on a geological time scale. I mean, we are just cracking the envelope when it comes to man being able to sort of reach out into the cosmos. We are still infants when it comes to civilizations. And so this is really exciting news, the fact that, hey, wait a second. Oh, hold on. No, there's tons of planets. Hold on. There's thousands of planets that could support life. This is something that should give people hope, that should give people perspective, and that should inspire people to a broader way of thinking.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And just before you go, Rob, I'll just let you know my credentials in the scientific world, right? I was brought up very near to Jodrell Bank Radio Telescope. Hang on. What are you laughing at?
That doesn't surprise me.
What are you laughing at? You've heard of Jodrell Bank, Rob, haven't you?
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. And I went there 3 times on school trips.
Really?
And learnt an awful lot from the scientists there.
Really?
You look through a telescope, you see ancient civilizations, all that kind of stuff. So I know all about that sort of thing. Don't worry about that.
You're
From an early
an expert
age.
then, are you?
From an early age.
Fantastic. Maybe we'll give you a quiz on Jodrell Bank sometime coming up in the future.
You want, pal.
Rob, listen, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed. Sorry for the inane ramblings
No, they're not inane.
of Mike Porky Parry.
He said they're not. Rob said they're not. He said very interesting conversation.
Oh, yeah.
So
you can't seem to make up your mind about whether you believe there's alien life or not.
Well, there is an alien life.
Last time you were on the show, you said there was.
No.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. What I said was, I do believe in the claims of people who have been space travellers, right? But I didn't say
that makes a lot more sense.
I didn't say they necessarily ever... what are you laughing at? Well, you see, you've got a problem here, mate. You can't concentrate on anything.
I know, I can't.
No,
I don't know what
you haven't got one linear thought.
By the way, you know that Moscow McDonald's you went to?
Yeah.
It's been shut down.
What do you mean it's been shut down?
It's been shut down by
They shut it
Putin.
down?
Because he's not keen on it anymore. Because they shut it down for sanitary violations.
Oh, blimey, that's a bit harsh.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mics on Extra Time, and we're keeping you entertained throughout the night. Very interesting hour, that, talking about leap time, talking about life on another planet. Fascinating stuff. Scientific, very scientific. Coming up in this hour, it's Porky quiz time, and it's going to be a quiz on one of his favourite subjects, 20th century British authors.
Yeah.
And I'm going to predict right now that you're going to find it quite tough. And people have been asking me not to give you so many clues in this particular time.
You don't give me clues, and I don't mind tough. I can do tough. Don't worry about that.
All right, I've got plenty of tweets to read out. Keep your tweets coming at the Two Mics, at Mike Parry 8, at IROMG. You can call us as well, of course, 08717 223344. Ben Fletcher's going to be in with a look at the back pages and some news on the transfer business going on in this January window as well. You're listening to Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. Now, a couple of tweets and texts to read out to you. Here's one from Jason, who's tweeted at IROMG. He says, Malta are right-hand drive as well. And then he says, I just looked for that 9/11 dog story, and I couldn't find it. You must be talking rubbish. So I don't know whether that's a criticism of you, which is fair or not.
No.
And Graham says, Queen Mary I, the fourth Tudor monarch, died of ovarian cancer in 1558.
How do they
Harry
know that?
is a plank.
How do they know?
Well, Graham is a professor of history.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he wasn't there at the time, so he can only rely on historical data.
Well, he's a professor of history.
Yeah, well, I mean, history's like a little bit subjective, isn't it? You know
and
what I mean?
Richard says, with possible alien technology that is unknown to us, maybe aliens are only a few years away from us now, even as we speak.
How far away from us?
Only a few years away from us.
What, you mean they're on the way here in
They might be
spacecraft?
on. It's possible, yeah. Well, it's not unbelievable, is it?
Yeah, but I mean that could have been the case for the last 1,000 years, couldn't it? Eh?
An urban spaceman says this. Carl Sagan, do you remember him?
Who?
Carl Sagan. He was an American sort of scientist. He
Right,
talk
okay.
about space. He had a program called The Cosmos.
Called what?
Called The Cosmos.
Cosmos. Okay.
You never saw it?
No.
Very famous. He was kind of like the David Attenborough of space.
Okay, yeah, well, I'll take your
Anyway,
word for it.
apparently he once wrote an episode called Planet of Idiots. How appropriate where Porky's concerned.
Oh, yeah, very funny that. Yeah, very original, very original.
Now, I want to talk to you about a couple of things which we didn't get to in the last hour.
Yeah.
The Gary Neville coffee episode, right? In which he revealed that he didn't even know how
Such
to
a
make
nice
a cup of
guy,
coffee.
Phil, as well.
Yeah, is he? I've not met him.
Oh, he's a smashing guy, yeah. And I was the first to support him when he got barracked so badly for the co-commentary he did on the England game during the World Cup. You know, people accused him of being wooden and all that. He wasn't. He was very good indeed. That's Phil Neville, yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about Gary Neville.
What are you talking about, Gary Neville?
Are we not talking about Gary Neville?
No, Phil Neville's the one who couldn't make the cup of coffee.
Oh, is it Phil Neville?
Phil Neville. What happened was he has this home in Cheshire.
Yeah.
Used to live in a tower in Manchester where...
What, in an apartment building, you mean?
Yeah, huge apartment building. But he bought two apartments, Mike, one below the other, right at the top of the tower.
Yeah.
And then he knocked a hole through the floor of the top
put
one.
a spiral staircase.
Put a spiral staircase
Very
in,
nice.
and had a duplex, But he had young kids and all that. And so his wife, I think, wanted to move out to the country. So they went back to a house in Cheshire. And a chap went round there to interview him about his expanding role in the media, okay?
Right.
And whilst there, now he knows how to make a cup of tea. He said, "Can I get?" And his wife Julie wasn't there. She has her own business, and she's very much of a go-getter. And he said, "Can I get you a cup of tea?" And the guy said, "No, I'll have a cup of coffee, please."
Right.
Now he knew how to make a cup of tea. He'd been instructed on that, the tea bag and
But
all
is
that.
it because they had one of these complicated coffee machines, though?
No. He just never
He
made
just didn't
a cup
know
of
how to
coffee
make an
before.
instant coffee.
He didn't know that instant coffee could be made from spoonfuls of coffee put into a cup, water added, and then add sugar if necessary, and put
That's
milk in it.
extraordinary, though, isn't it?
Not really.
I mean,
so he had to ring up his wife Julie and say, "How do you make this coffee thing?"
Yeah.
And no, I mean, what? No, it's not extraordinary. I mean, he's lived in a world where he's never had to do it himself. Why not? It's like,
But surely, at some point in his life, he'd had to make himself a cup of coffee. Surely.
Well, he says
I mean,
not.
What if he was in a hotel room where they have those little, coffee, little kettle and, make your own coffee, that kind of thing?
I can't explain that, to be honest. Perhaps he doesn't drink coffee himself.
Maybe he
you know
doesn't
what I mean?
like it.
Maybe he doesn't like coffee. Maybe he didn't. But
You don't really drink coffee, do you?
I drink more of it now than I used to. And I'll tell you why, because I've given up the Red Bull to a large extent. It was sending me a bit gaga. And,
I think that's true, actually.
And
I've noticed you've actually been a bit more sane since you stopped drinking Red Bull.
No, don't be ridiculous. I don't mean like that. I mean, it just...
No, you were. You were starting... The old eyes were starting to swivel around.
No, they
when
weren't.
you were first started coming in here in the middle of the night, and you would have about 4 Red Bulls while you were sitting there. By the time you had the 4th one, you were going gaga.
No. I reject all of those claims. The point is, it started actually to worry me about whether it was damaging my teeth, because, apparently fizzy drinks can damage your teeth and all that.
They can, yeah, it's true.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with
So can
Red
juice,
Bull.
actually.
I like the taste of Red Bull, and I like the stimulant it gives you. But I felt that it was perhaps inappropriate. So,
well, it's not good for somebody with the heart condition you've got.
Well, that's the other thing. So now I have a cup of coffee instead, and I find it quite satisfying.
Instant coffee, presumably.
Instant coffee. Yeah. But the problem is I can only drink coffee with sugar,
right,
whereas I drink tea without sugar.
Yeah.
I don't know why I drink tea without sugar. I've got a very sweet tooth. I'm munching through packets of biscuits given to me at Christmas at the moment.
Oh, yeah?
And
why don't you bring some in here?
And
we haven't got anything to eat tonight.
A delightful box of what's called chocolate puddings.
Chocolate puddings?
Yeah, it comes from that, chocolate shop, which is very famous.
Thornton's.
Comes from those. Somebody gave me them at Christmas. Don't know who, actually. Found them in the boot of my car.
Who gave you the chocolates you gave me?
Oh, well,
you keep saying you find stuff in the boot of the car.
Yeah,
you got some kind of Aladdin's cave going on.
Yeah,
there.
well, there's a bit of that about it, yeah.
Have you got any more of those kids' chocolate things?
No, I haven't, no.
Because you know what happened to that?
Well, I hope you gave them to your children.
Well, no, because I haven't
had the thank you notes, which I might expect.
No, I haven't seen them since then, right? And we decided, Mr. Levine and I, the producer, decided that it was too embarrassing to give my kids a bar of chocolate, a thing of chocolate which we'd already opened.
Yeah.
So we've eaten the chocolate here.
Well, all of it?
Yeah.
Well, that's very greedy.
And the worst thing is
6 bars of chocolate
between
between you.
The worst thing is the kids saw the video, right? Which will soon be on the Two Mics TV on YouTube.
Yes.
And they've demanded that I bring them the chocolate.
Well,
and I'm in terrible trouble now.
It was a present for them.
And I'm now in terrible trouble because it was all on video, because I said that I'm going to eat the chocolate.
Well, do you know what? You might just be lucky. If you get to the shops tomorrow, first thing, you might get a half-price replacement.
Is that where you got it?
No. Mine came from my family celebration. Ended up in the boot of my car. I don't know why, but anyway, I thought I'd give it to you. But of course, you were terribly ungrateful about it.
Well, I was.
And,
I didn't want the sausages either.
Yeah, well, another ungrateful sort of episode. Yeah, well, ingrates to call them in America.
You could be an ingrate, but you could be ungrateful.
Yeah, ungrateful ingrate.
Anyway, let's give you a test about the things that you can do around the house, because I thought, when I saw this story about Phil Neville,
you see,
I thought to myself, well, hang on a second, I bet you there's a man who's very similarly, shall we say, handicapped in that area, and I think that's you.
No, I think...
Because you can't do anything around the house.
No.
You can't cook.
Mike, you're barking up the wrong tree altogether. I am the most domesticated person you've ever met.
Domesticated?
Yeah.
What, you mean like a dog?
No. Now, don't be insulting. You don't need to do that. What I'm saying
you're not domesticated, are you?
What I'm saying is, I've been living on my own since the age of about 20.
Right.
I know how to hoover. I know how to iron.
Congratulations.
I know how to iron.
Do you iron?
I can iron shirts.
You surely don't iron shirts, do you?
I haven't done for about 10 years or 15 years,
right.
but I mean, I
don't iron shirts.
Well, how do you get your shirts done?
I take them to the dry cleaners and get them pressed.
That's what I do. I do that in America, but in this country it doesn't seem to work. You know.
It does.
Okay, you say so. But anyway, my housekeeper does all that now, obviously. But if necessary, just sometimes, I need a particular shirt, maybe into, a dress shirt because I'm going to a black tie do or something like that. And I look in the wardrobe and I think, crikey, this needs freshening up. So I wash it and then I iron it, So I know how to iron a shirt. I know how to iron trousers, actually, if necessary.
Have you not got a trouser press?
Well, they don't work. They're useless.
They're terrible, aren't they?
They're useless.
The only good thing about them is if you've got one in a hotel room, you can hang your jacket over it.
That's right,
That's the only reason you have one.
But you wouldn't dare put your trousers in a hotel, in a press.
I wouldn't. I'd be frightened of them going on fire.
Well, not only would I be frightened of going on fire, but how many other pairs of trousers have been in there with filthy germs on them that are now transmitting to your trousers? But anyway, I haven't seen one of those for years.
They're only the outside of the trousers they press, not the inside.
Not only germs. But I haven't seen one of those for years, have you? A trouser press in a hotel bedroom?
No, I haven't actually.
No.
I'll tell you a funny story about a dress shirt, though. I was at a black tie do in Wales once, at the Celtic Manor. Where,
I know Celtic Manor very well. Yeah, I played golf there, actually.
Did you?
Yes.
It's a very difficult golf course, that.
With Mr. Brazil, yeah.
How did you get on the first hole?
I can't remember.
You can't remember?
No.
There's a funny thing.
I think I put down a 16-foot putt on that hole.
Did you? What, for a 10?
Hey?
16-foot putt for a 10?
No.
It's a very hard hole, that first hole, where you get down all the way down the hill.
Yeah, down the hill. Yeah, I remember it now. I remember it now, yeah. You can overrun it very easily.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Anyway, I was at this do, right, and it was a sort of rugby organised thing. I can't remember, something to do with the Welsh Rugby Club. Anyway, and I was standing as everybody sort of finished the dinner and it was time to kind of mingle. And I stood up from the table and I was walking and there was, when sometimes there's a crowd of people who are all kind of going through the tables.
Yeah.
And I was holding a glass of red wine in my hand. And this guy suddenly turned round quite sort of quickly and with his elbow knocked the red wine all over my shirt.
Right, terrible.
Completely down the front of the shirt. And I thought to myself, well, I can't go and meet anybody, with my shirt covered in red wine.
That's right.
And I was staying there, so I thought I'll nip up to the room and I'll find another shirt to wear.
Yes.
Thinking I must have another white shirt knocking about because I used to have a lot of clothes down there because I stayed down there.
Yeah.
And, of course, I went up to the room and all I had was a blue shirt.
Right.
And I thought, I can't wear a blue shirt.
That's what you could have done.
Well, I could have done, but then people would have noticed.
Right, so what happened?
Well, so I decided the only thing I can do is to try and wash it. And I'd had a few drinks.
That's a good idea. Good idea. That's good thinking. I was going to say that.
I was thinking very clearly.
I was going to say that.
So I got into the bath, I started washing it under the taps in the bath, squeezed it out a bit. And, of course, it was soaking wet, and I thought, well, I'll try and dry it with a hairdryer, but it wasn't really happening, and there was no heater to put it on, and I had to get back downstairs. So I just put it back on, soaking wet.
Yeah.
I put the bow tie back on.
And was it still full of red wine?
No, the red wine had more or less gone.
Oh, well done.
Because it was
That's good.
That was that fresh.
Yeah, I see, yeah.
But unfortunately, I was standing talking to people, and there was kind of steam coming off the shirt.
Right.
And I was dripping.
Yeah, that's bad news.
Yeah, and I don't know to this day, nobody ever said anything.
Yeah.
I don't know to this day whether that made any difference to why people didn't seem to be wanting to talk to me me for very long.
Funny enough, I did that in a nightclub once. A girl threw up over me.
No.
Believe it or
I'm
not.
not surprised.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for what reason, I don't know. She probably just had too much to drink or something. But
That
no.
might have been the reason.
Yeah, but no, and it was quite early.
Sorry.
What other might?
I'm just
what
trying,
other reason might
I'm
there
trying
have
to
been?
imagine the scene
Oh, yeah, it
of
was
you
terrible.
chatting up this woman
Yeah.
and then she suddenly vomits on you.
Well, no, she didn't. She wasn't on to do with me. She was on the table next to me, but
All right.
she turned away and then vomited
Oh,
over me.
God.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Was that
yeah.
in this Chester nightclub you used to hang
Yeah,
out
it was,
in?
I think. Actually, it was,
Real high-class joint.
The King's Disco, it was. And actually, I thought...
I've seen the time, by the way.
Yeah, well, never mind the time. This is a
Well,
great
you
story.
never mind the time.
Yeah.
It's on national radio. We have to
and
stick to the time.
What was I going to do for the rest of the evening? I thought, well, I don't... So I literally went in the loo, I took my shirt off, and I washed it. I squeezed it all out, shook it all out, put it back on. It didn't steam like yours did.
Yeah.
It just dried within about 10 minutes
Did
because
it?
of the heat of the room and body heat and all that. But
Yeah.
it was the only thing I could do, and I thought it was a brilliant suggestion. Most people would have just frozen and not known what to do
Yeah,
and
or gone
embarrassed
home.
themselves or gone home or something. I didn't. I took action.
Well done.
Yeah.
I'm now horrified to know that we both have the same solution
Yeah,
to the same
exactly,
problem.
exactly.
He is Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham.
Yeah.
We've got the quiz coming up a little bit later on. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham, and he is Mike Parry, of course. We are the two Mikes together. We've also got two Mikes TV on the go now, where you can go and see the video of Mr. Parry coming in his ridiculous cleanliness.
Apparently, 100
anti-germ.
people have already viewed that.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised.
I mean, I hope you're not trying to hold me up to ridicule, Mike. I mean,
Not at all.
I mean, my thing on the pubs thing,
Yeah.
right? And by the way, I've got another grouse about pubs.
Have
Do
you?
you know what pubs should start doing?
What?
Well, you see
Well,
these.
they should stop letting you into them for a
No,
start
no,
if you're
no,
going to
no.
start shutting them
No,
down.
no.
I mean, pubs are having a hard enough time as it is.
I'm going to monitor them. Well, what I'm trying to say to you is this: look, I see people sitting in pubs for hours on end, drinking 1 pint of beer, right,
Yeah.
and taking up a whole table of 4 chairs. Now, pubs will go bankrupt if they don't change the system.
But you know what pubs do now? They make more money from the food and all the rest of it than they make from the drink.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
And they make you feel uncomfortable if you're just in there drinking a pint of beer, sitting at a table, because what they do is they put knives and forks down on the table and all this kind of stuff and place settings and all that.
Right.
You see what I mean? What are you
Right.
laughing at?
I'm just laughing at what somebody's tweeted to me, but
Oh, yeah?
I can't really tell you. But
Why?
I'll tell you later.
Why?
Well, it's a bit vulgar.
Well, I don't want any vulgarity in this
No,
show.
we don't
It's a
want
family
vulgarity.
show.
It is,
Yeah.
well, it's not a family
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of the night.
So,
If
anyway...
the family are up listening to it, but
Yeah.
they may listen to it on the podcast, of course.
So
later
anyway,
on.
what pubs should do is they should designate this is the drinking area and this is the eating area, like they do at all American bars, because
Yeah.
American bars by law have to be able to serve food, don't they?
But don't they do that in some pubs where, I mean, they used to do it where
Yeah.
you would have like the public bar and you would have the saloon bar.
Do you know what?
And they've kind of done away with that, haven't they?
Some places now won't even let you sit there and read a paper
Really?
and drink beer unless you order food.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I've noticed this.
I've never
increasingly.
seen that. I'll tell you what I
Yeah.
noticed tonight, because
Yeah.
I was out a little bit earlier in the evening, many hours before we started the show.
Yeah, I
for a
realised
couple of
that,
beers,
yeah, yeah.
And
Couple of
every
beers. Seems like you
bit.
had more than a couple to me.
Well, a couple of beers I had, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, a couple of beers.
Not
By the
3
way,
or 4 or-
Yeah, and also I didn't
Yeah.
appreciate you tweeting out that, MG's been out for dinner.
That's right.
So he's currently on the treatment table.
That's right, yeah.
I was out for dinner, yes.
I put dinner in inverted
No,
commas.
I was out for dinner.
Like liquid dinner.
No,
you know
I was
what
out
mean?
for dinner and I had a couple of beers
Yeah.
with dinner, actually,
I
if you must
see.
know.
I see you didn't come in your car tonight, so
No, I
obviously
didn't.
you didn't feel
No.
that you should be driving.
No,
huh?
I didn't.
Why's
no.
that then?
Well,
Why's that?
because I just thought I would come without the car. Is that a problem for you?
Yeah.
Problem?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
never mind that. It's
You
nothing to
feel
do
like
with-
getting breathalyzed or anything?
No, it's nothing to do with that.
No.
But every pub in here, now we're supposed to be in January, right, when people are
Yep.
giving up the drink,
Yep.
which lots of people do. I presume you're not doing that this
No,
January.
I
never
that's
do
an
it.
amateur's trick, that.
And also, we're supposed to be in this time of austerity when nobody's got any money. Every single pub around this office here, which is, yes, it's a lot. There's a lot of people working.
Yes.
It's completely rammed with people. You could not get into half of them.
What, this
They
evening?
were so busy, yeah.
Yesterday evening, last evening,
Last night,
whatever,
yeah.
yeah. Well, look, what I'm saying about these pubs is, now, they should
So
rent...
you've got nothing. So again, you've done
Yes.
it again, haven't you?
What?
You've just completely just blanked
No,
whatever
no,
I've
no,
said.
no, I listened to everything you said.
and then done nothing about it.
And then I'm building on it.
No, you're
I'm
not.
building
You've
on
gone
it.
back to your story.
I'm building on it. Yeah, well, my story's more important because I started it.
Well, every story of yours is more important,
Yeah,
isn't it?
well, sometimes. I mean, you do tend to ramble rubbish.
I was just trying to tell you something about me for a change.
Yeah,
As
okay.
opposed to all the stories that you tell about yourself.
I mean, look,
I realise that upsets you.
Let's be brutally frank.
Go on.
How much do you think the audience wants to know about you? You know?
Well, quite a lot, actually.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, because my stories are all true.
Self-delusion.
Unlike
set
yours.
in, is it? Let me tell you what happened here.
Go on, then.
So I go in this pub on the coast, right, and It was Wetherspoons, big Wetherspoons.
These are the only pubs. You've got to keep away from Wetherspoons.
No, they're good pubs. They're good. They're very well run. They are. They're very well run. They're very efficient.
Yeah, but they're like a chain, though. They're not like your local pub, are they?
Doesn't matter. Anyway, so I get a little table at the back. I'm just reading the Saturday morning papers or Sunday morning. It was Sunday morning papers, behaving myself. And all of a sudden...
You weren't going there for the free, the full English breakfast and 4 pints before 10 a.m?
Actually had a sausage sandwich.
Oh, OK.
Yeah, which is fine. So anyway, all of a sudden, this group of people turn up, 16 of them.
Oh, yeah.
And they start, like, picking up tables and putting them all together in one long row. You see what I mean?
I'm not keen on that.
No, and I'm thinking, what are these people doing? They've, like, taken the pub over, you know what I mean? I thought it must have an arrangement. Anyway... They eventually sit down. They've pushed 4 tables together.
And what sort of... Were they a mixed group? Mixed
group.
What sort of age?
Middle-aged people. Middle-aged to elderly. OK, middle-aged to elderly.
Right.
And they're pushing all these tables together. And they made a right nuisance of themselves. There's one chap who said, pardon me, am I getting in your way? When they pushed tables right up to his table. So he got up and moved his table away.
Right.
I tried to move my table away. I was at the end, but they pushed up right against mine and then invited me to join in their company.
Oh, right.
And I said...
They must have thought you were a fellow a traveller of some kind, same kind of age, you know?
No, they were Baptists.
Oh,
They'd
really?
just come from the Baptist church across the street.
Oh, OK.
And they came in to have a post-Sunday morning service meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Which they do once a month, apparently.
Well, that's quite nice, I suppose, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Why?
Because they didn't
wrong with
order any
that?
drink. They didn't order any drink.
Oh, what did they order?
About 4 or 5 of them had a cup of coffee,
Yeah.
which was brought to the table by the waiter, by the barman.
Yeah.
The rest of them just asked for tap water from the tap.
Really?
So they didn't spend hardly a penny in there.
Right.
They commandeered 4 tables. They started talking about Jesus and God and baptism
Well, there's nothing
things.
wrong with that. No law against it.
No, but what I'm saying is they were using the pub as a free meeting house for their religious meeting. And I think that's completely wrong.
Well,
and in fact, I started telling them.
Did you?
I started telling them, look, this is not a...
It's not very Christian of you.
It's not an overspill to the Baptist church across the road. This is not the church hall. This is a public house. And you're making it very unpublic housey.
And what did they say?
By debating matters referring to Jesus in a...
What's wrong with that?
In a licensed premises, that seems rather inappropriate to me.
And what did they say?
They thought I was being ungodly. And
not to say rude.
No, looked at me with great sympathy as though I was a sort of, a person who'd lost his way in life.
Yeah, maybe needed saving.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that when they invited you to join them? Or before?
No, they invited me to join at the start. Would you like to join in? You'd have to move away and all that. I said, no, I'm going to move away because you lot look like a bunch of ageing weirdos. They did, I didn't know if Baptists were part of the
my
regular
advice to you is
congregation.
to start going to slightly smaller pubs. Because Wetherspoons, I think I'm right in saying, were the ones who designated, sort of pubs where you could. They were one of the first people to bring in a no smoking rule, and they were voluntarily bringing it in before.
Is that right?
I think so. Yeah. And they also had a law where you couldn't use your. Sorry, I'm boring you.
No.
They had a law where you couldn't use a mobile phone in a pub, and they got another rule where in certain pubs, there's an eating area and a drinking area.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there are designated areas.
They're quite. I mean, I would rather go to a pub which is not like that at all, where you actually can sit where you want. You can order food wherever you like.
There's not a lot of them around now.
Well, they're the only kind I go to though.
No, well, I go to a pub, right, which is in a nice sort of village in Surrey, and you walk through the door. There's a couple of tables on your right with high stools where you can sort of have a drink. But the rest of it, the whole of the rest of it, it's a big pub, are all tables which are laid for food. So they're place settings and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, you feel incredibly uncomfortable. You walk in with your newspaper on your arm, you sit down, pint of beer, because actually your papers are lying on top of cutlery and there's salt and pepper pots there and menus and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure that's designated to make you think, if you come in here, you should be ordering food. You know what I mean? And that's the way.
But it's because that's where they can make. It's the only place they can make money.
Exactly. That's the way an awful lot of our English pubs are going. Very few. The pubs that were just the drinking man's pub are closing down.
Those are the ones that people used to go and smoke and drink in. That's
right. You're absolutely right.
And they never served any food.
Now, let me tell you this. On the road from the M27 down to the end of the peninsula where Gosport is, so I get to my flat right at the end of the peninsula.
Is that where that funny kind of sculpture is? Do you mean that funny
sculpture? What's that?
Isn't there, like, when you come into Portsmouth, there's that kind of sculpture?
I'm not talking about Portsmouth.
Or something.
I'm talking about
an
Portsmouth.
arch, isn't it?
No. It's a sailboat.
Oh, yeah,
it's a big sailboat.
It's a sailboat.
So that's Portsmouth. I'm talking about Gosport, OK?
Well, they're more or less the same, aren't they?
No, it's the other side of the harbour.
Oh, right.
And, but anyway, the point
I've only been there once, and, you didn't exactly show me round, did you?
No, I didn't show you around. I didn't want you to stay too long,
You told me to go stay in a hotel,
I did,
I just find my own way there.
Yeah, I paid for it, though.
Well, you paid for it because you felt guilty.
No, I didn't feel guilty. I just felt that...
Because you'd invited me down to stay at your palatial penthouse, which I found out wasn't a penthouse anyway.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it wasn't at the top of the building, was it?
Well, it's nearly at the top.
Well, nearly at the top.
You know.
Well, if you're selling a flat and you say, oh, it's nearly at the top, it's a penthouse, the estate agent would go, no, it's not.
Anyway, look, this is all rubbish. What I'm telling you is this. On the way down from the M27 to where I live, 11 pubs have closed down.
Really?
11.
Wow.
Right? They're turned into things like spa shops.
Yeah.
They've converted them into houses and flats.
Yeah. Down in Sussex, there's a couple in villages which have been turned into like Indian restaurants or,
that's
or
right.
Chinese restaurants.
Yeah, Indian restaurants, all that kind of stuff. But this is the interesting thing. A new one has opened, a very big one, and it's called the Sailmaker.
Uh-huh.
And guess what? It's a Toby Carvery, and it is booming with business.
Well, you love those places, don't
because
you?
90%...
Is that where you go on a weekend, Toby Carvery?
No. I've only ever been there for a drink once, meet somebody there. But what I'm saying is 90% of what they do inside that place involves food and eating and people buying meals.
Yeah.
So they're thriving. They go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But the old boozers, which are all named after ships, you know, the ship Anson, the ship this, the ship Clyde and all that kind of stuff, where
the ship
off-duty...
Clyde?
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, all that kind of stuff is very, very well. I've never heard of a pub called the Ship Clyde.
Well, no.
Clyde's a river.
Yeah, no, but they named name ships after rivers. The HMS Mersey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
and all
not
that.
pubs, though.
Yeah. Hey?
But not pubs.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do, honestly.
They don't name pubs after ships that were named after rivers.
Yes, they do. They do, honestly.
I don't think so.
Yes, they do. I'm telling you, the Avon. The Avon. There's a pub called the Avon.
Why are you shouting?
There's a ship called the Avon because you won't. Because you talk nonsense. That's why. Anyway. What I'm saying is those pubs used to be supported by off-duty able seamen who would go in there, stand at the bar with a pint of beer and a cigarette and smoke, and there'd be sawdust on the floor.
Yeah.
They don't exist anymore.
No, they
They've
don't.
gone.
No.
They've gone.
It's shocking.
That working man pub has gone.
Yeah.
Dead.
Look into the light.
Paperback writer.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. We are the two Mikes. He's Mike Parry. It is time, of course, for the quiz of the week. And this morning it is about British authors of the 20th century. But before we do that, I'll just point you in the direction of the Two Mikes TV channel, which is on YouTube. We can
because, of course, I've still got my protective suit on.
You have still got
and I'll be doing the
suit
quiz
on.
in the protective suit.
And if you want to see what it looks like, which is quite ridiculous, to see how the show started, you go there and have a look. And also that will be the place to look for all the clips from the live show that we do and various other little ditties that we do throughout the course of the week, and we'll be putting everything basically that we've ever done on there. So if you want to
be trying to make the audience take the mickey out of me,
not at all.
Even though
we'll put the hacker on there as well. I'll probably put the cinnamon challenge on there as well.
Okay. Well, you know, as you wish. What can I do about it?
Well, there's nothing you can do about it, but people actually do like it. Now, coming up, there's 10 questions as per usual. They've been collated by a huge host of independent arbiters and quiz masters.
Okay.
Now, if, as usual...
That means you, of course.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's because you're going to gerrymander the answers again.
No, I'm not going to gerrymander the answers.
Every time I get it right, you just change the blinking answer. You do.
No, I'm not going to do that. Now, as usual, if you get a question right, there will be a sound, and it will be this.
Hi, Earth, this is Bonjo from Planet Zog. What's the relevance of that?
Well, that's if you get it right. And if you get one wrong, you'll hear this.
I think he's a mental pygmy.
You might remember that from Toby Gillis the other night.
Yeah, he got a bit of stick about that,
Are
Toby.
you ready?
Yeah.
For the first
question? Of course I'm ready.
Right.
I'm always ready. I'm ever ready, me.
All right, the first question is, what was the name of the chief pig in George Orwell's Animal Farm?
Nelson.
Incorrect.
I think he's a mental pygmy. No, hang on. Oh, no, hang on. Wait a minute. I was only thinking aloud.
No, you've said it's wrong.
I was only thinking aloud.
None out of one.
No, hang on.
None out of one.
Napoleon. It was Napoleon.
Yeah, it was Napoleon.
It was Napoleon.
You got it wrong.
No, I didn't get it wrong. I was thinking aloud. No. Start again.
No, you start again.
No.
You got it wrong.
No, I didn't get it wrong. I knew it was Napoleon.
Said
Nelson. Napoleon.
No,
I was thinking aloud. You can't penalise me for that.
Question number 2. Do you recognise this piece of music?
Yes, I do.
This It's your sort of time, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what
it's
it
not
is?
my time. Yeah, it's Brideshead Revisited.
It is indeed.
There.
That's not the answer.
What?
That's not the answer.
You asked me to recognise the music, and I just told you I did.
That's not the answer. The question is...
So I see.
Well,
so I get it right. I get it right.
That wasn't the question.
And now you say there's a supplementary question.
No, it's not a supplementary question. The question is, who starred in the TV version of Brideshead Revisited?
Jeremy Irons.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Somebody else
Yeah,
did it as
yeah.
well. I'll give you a point for Jeremy Irons.
Yeah.
Just ask, all right, you've got your point.
Yeah.
You've got your point. You got
Right.
1 out of 2. Can you name any the other actor in it?
Yeah, the guy who threw up through the window of Jeremy Irons' college digs was Anthony Andrews.
Anthony Andrews, very good indeed.
Hi Earth, this is Bonjo from Planet Zog.
Well done. Well done.
That's
you got
2
one-
out of 2.
No, that's 1 out of 2.
I got Napoleon.
I'm not giving you Napoleon.
Yes, you
got it
are
wrong.
giving me Napoleon.
No, I'm not giving you Napoleon. Stop it. Question number 3. Which Evelyn Waugh
So
novel
just.
focused on a hapless journalist causing a war?
What's that?
You want me to repeat the question?
Yes, I didn't hear it because I was talking.
Yeah, you were too busy moaning about not
Protesting,
getting
yeah.
the question right the first time.
Yeah.
Which Evelyn Waugh novel focused on a hapless journalist causing a war? Now, every journalist knows this one.
That was called Boot.
Incorrect.
I think he's a mental pygmy. What? It was called
It
Boot.
was called Scoop.
Scoop.
You want to get that one advised, given to you as well, I suppose. That's 1 out of 3.
No, I'll admit that I got that wrong.
1 out of 3.
But the hero was called Boot.
Well, he might have been, but the book was called Scoop.
Well, I don't care. I got the name of the hero
I didn't ask
right.
you what the hero was.
The hero, and the whole plot was about getting the wrong boot and sending him to the wrong war.
To the wrong country.
Yeah, to the
where
wrong
he started
country.
a war where there wasn't one going on.
Exactly.
It's the kind of thing that would have happened to you.
Exactly.
Do you know when the book was written?
It was written in 1935.
Not bad. 1938.
Yeah.
You don't get anything for that, though.
Yeah.
Have a listen to this piece of music.
Right.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Yeah.
Smell! You know that gasoline smell? Smells like...
Yeah. All right, I've listened to the music.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, Apocalypse Now, which of course is the name of the film, was based on which British novel?
Wasn't based on a British novel.
Why?
Because it was about the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody wrote a novel about it.
You don't think it was based on a novel?
I know it wasn't based on a novel.
Well, you're wrong.
It was an independent screenplay.
You're wrong.
And it was a Steven Spielberg film.
You're wrong.
No, I'm not wrong.
It wasn't a Steven Spielberg film either.
Well, it was. I know who made the film.
Do you? Go on then, let's have it.
I'll tell you who was in it. Robert Duvall was in it.
Yeah, he was.
Robert
That
Duvall.
was the guy who said, I like the smell of napalm in the morning.
And
Who
so
else was in it?
So was Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando, wasn't it? Yeah.
Who was the mad colonel who
That's
went
right.
to find up the river.
Yeah.
Because he'd gone mad.
Yeah.
No, you say it was based
And the
on
plot
a
of
book.
the story was based on a book.
Okay. I reckon it was written by Sebastian Faulks.
Really?
Mm.
No. Incorrect.
I think he's a mental pygmy.
Apocalypse Now was based on Heart of Darkness.
Oh, nobody knows that.
Yeah, they do.
No, they don't. I
Everybody
don't know
who
that.
watched the movie knows that.
I'm having Napoleon anyway because
You're not having
you
Napoleon.
cheated me out of that one.
You've got 1 out of 4.
No, I haven't got 2. I've got 2.
Question number 5, a little bit more modern for you. Who wrote A Clockwork Orange?
Now, the film was made by Stanley Kubrick.
It was indeed.
Stanley Kubrick's Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
And Clockwork Orange was written by some sort of offbeat writer. You know, somebody like the guy who wrote Catcher in the Rye, but it wasn't him. It wasn't him. Clockwork Orange. Now that was written by. It was like one of those Amos guys, wasn't it?
Like one of those Amos guys?
Yeah.
What, Kingsley Amos?
Well, it wasn't Kingsley Amos,
Or
though.
Martin Amos?
Like that.
No, it wasn't him.
Like that. I didn't say it was him. Didn't say it was him.
Oh, different Amos.
No, let me think. I know. It was Aldous somebody, wasn't it? It was Aldous. No, it wasn't Aldous Huxley.
Aldous Huxley?
No, it wasn't Aldous
No, it
Huxley.
wasn't him
No,
either.
no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't
You
him.
do know a lot of authors from the 20th century.
Wait a minute.
Just can't answer any of the questions.
Wait a minute.
I have to hurry you.
Well, it's Stanley Kubrick.
Wrong.
I think he's a mental pygmy.
It's Anthony Burgess.
Anthony Burgess. See, I knew it was something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Question. That's 1 out of 5. Question number 6.
2 out of 5.
Who are the
I
two?
got Napoleon.
Who are the two lovers in Brighton Rock?
What?
Who are the two lovers in Brighton Rock?
Well, that's
Brighton Rock, one of the most famous books of the 20th century.
Oh, rubbish.
Do you know who wrote Brighton Rock?
Of course I do.
Who?
Graham Greene.
There you go.
One of them was called Joe.
No.
One of them's called Joe, I think.
No.
I think.
No.
I'm thinking aloud.
I'm going to have to only give you
Think
like 30
aloud.
seconds on this because otherwise we're going to run out of time.
Hang on. Well, look, I've never read it, so I don't know.
Well, I thought you were an expert on 20th century literature.
I am. If you'd have asked me about...
You haven't read Brighton Rock by Graham Greene?
If you'd have asked me about one of the Graham Greene books that I have read...
Well, which one have you read?
Hang on a sec. Didn't he write... Hang on.
How about The Wind in the Willows?
No, that wasn't Graham Greene.
That was Kenneth Graham.
Exactly. So
Well,
you
he
asked
might
me
have
that
confused you.
nonsense for. See, once again, you're gerrymandering all the answers.
Well, should we just say you're not going to get this one? And move on to question number 7.
I think he's a mental pigmy.
All right, then.
It's funnily enough, it's Pinky and Rosie.
Pinky and Rosie.
You might have seen the movie as well, at least.
Ridiculous
All right,
names.
question number 7.
Yeah.
What is Hermione's surname in the Harry Potter series?
I've never read a Harry Potter book.
Well,
That's not great
you've never
literature.
seen a movie.
That's
It's not great literature.
It's not great literature.
Are you saying that it's not part of 20th century British authors?
Most of the books were written in the 21st century.
Yeah, but the first one wasn't.
Well, I don't
think
care.
you'll find.
I think it's a trick question.
Not a trick question. Do you not know the answer?
Hermione's what?
Hermione.
Hermione.
She's not Italian.
Hermione.
Hermione.
Which one's Hermione? Which actress played her?
Emma Watson.
Emma Watson. And what do you need to know?
I want to know her surname.
Hermione.
Hermione.
How would I know her? How would I know her surname?
Because you're an expert in 20th century literature.
But I don't regard that as being expert 20th
Oh, well.
century literature. It's,
So-
it's fantasy stuff.
Her name is Granger.
I think he's a mental pygmy.
1 out of 7.
2 out of 7. I got Napoleon.
You did not get
I did.
Napoleon.
I got
you said
Napoleon.
Nelson. This is going to be an
No, I didn't say
all-time low,
Nelson.
this one.
I didn't.
Question number 8. The Wasp Factory was the first novel by whom?
What?
The Wasp Factory.
Well, some half-baked by the sound of it. Eh? Honest to God. The Wasp Factory.
Very well-known book.
What kind of a name for a book is that?
Well, I mean, you might as well ask what's the point of any name of any book?
Drivel. Right, I'll tell you what. I'll have a punt
guess.
in the dark. The Wasp Factory. I reckon that was written by. Yeah, that'd be somebody like Amos. Probably Martin Amos.
Martin Amos. Yeah,
I think he's a mental pygmy.
No, I'm afraid it was Ian Banks. Published in 1984, right about the time I met you in New York.
1984, Everton won the FA Cup. Andy Gray scored the controversial goal against.
What, for Everton?
Yeah.
Against that guy Steve Sherwood, right?
Steve Sherwood. Absolutely right.
Amazing. Now,
Right.
you've got 1 out of 8. Question number 9.
2 out of 8.
Which
I got Napoleon.
iconic British author named his novel after a famous West Country seaside phenomenon?
What?
Which iconic British author named his novel after a famous West Country seaside phenomenon?
Would that be Nick What's-His-Name, the author?
Who?
Nick What's-His-Name?
Nick, what's his name?
Yeah, you know, he wrote books about Arsenal fans and all that kind of
You
stuff.
mean Nick Hornby?
Yeah, I mean Nick Hornby.
No.
Yeah. Well, you see. Now then. So this is a festival down in the West Country.
No, a phenomenon, not a festival.
Phenomenon. Well, something that happens in the West Country every year.
Well, it's not something... No, phenomenon is not necessarily something that happens every year, is it? That's a festival.
So this is like Devon Cream or something. is it?
Seaside phenomenon.
Seaside phenomenon.
Well, think of the seaside.
Thinking of the seaside. Pirates of Penzance. St Ives.
St Ives Tourist Guide.
Yeah. What you're laughing at.
Oh, dear.
So what? And it's a ridiculously complicated
Well,
question.
it's a very famous book from the 20th century written by Ian McEwan called Chesil Beach.
I think he's a mental pygmy.
Beach. That's 1 out of 9. You're coming up for an all-time low here. Final
Did
question.
he write Train Spotting as well?
No.
Oh, I thought he did.
No, that was Irvin Welsh,
No, it
who
wasn't.
bizarrely is Scottish,
Oh, is he? All right.
even though he's called Welsh.
Okay.
Now, number 10.
Well, Mike England, who captained Wales,
Yeah.
was Welsh.
He was. That's
Yeah.
why he captained Wales.
Yeah, that's right.
Well done.
Yeah.
Question number 10. See if you can get 2 out of 10.
Yeah. I've got 2. I've got
No,
Napoleon.
you haven't got Napoleon.
I have.
Which British author was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1953?
Who? What? Sorry.
Who?
No.
No,
I
you're
didn't-
supposed to answer.
I know.
Is that
what.
your answer?
No.
Who? Which
No.
British author was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1953?
I know this.
Do you?
I know who it was.
It wasn't Nelson
No.
or Napoleon.
No. But it was an outstanding statesman, wasn't it? It was
I can't-
Churchill.
it was.
It was
Oh,
Churchill.
yeah.
This is
Hey,
Bonzo from
I
Planet
helped you
Zog.
that.
Woo, woo, woo,
So,
woo.
no, you've got great reason to celebrate. 2 out of 10.
3.
You've got 2
I
out
got
of
Napoleon.
10 in a subject that you asked.
Fletcher's back in the studio. He'll tell you that
you asked to be quizzed on
blasted
this.
well cheated me out of the
You
Napoleon
asked
one.
to be quizzed on 20th century British authors.
Yeah, well, if you asked me proper
You
questions,
failed
I'd have
miserably.
got a load more answers
Well,
right.
maybe next time you give me a list.
Stupid questions about stupid books like Harry Potter.
Maybe next time you give me a list of the books you've
Why
read.
couldn't you ask me proper questions about proper books, you know, like Enid Blyton and The Secret Seven and all that sort of stuff, eh?
I thought it was the famous 5.
Yeah, and the famous 5, yeah.
Was it Secret 7?
Yeah, Secret 7 and the famous 5,
Right.
yeah.
Well, next time just give me a list of the books you've read, and if there's enough questions out of 10, I can make you another quiz up. Next week we're going to do a quiz on tomatoes.
Tomatoes, okay.
So you better bone up on that
Yeah,
if
that's
you
all right.
can.
I know about
Coming up
tomatoes.
in the next hour,
I'd like
we've
to
got
squash a few into your fat face.
He gets so upset, don't he? This is Talk Sports Extra Time. We are the Two Mics. Go and find Two Mics TV on YouTube. You can watch the videos at the Two Mics as well. Don't forget, we should, Mike, remind people that the Birmingham show at Birmingham Rep on March the 6th is very much a goer, and there's still a few tickets left if people want to get them.
There are a few tickets left, but we have been overwhelmed, literally, by the response we've had from there. So early in them being on sale, we didn't really think people would be rushing to the box office until perhaps
a lot of people
February
gone
or
for
something
Christmas
like that.
presents, you know.
A lot of Christmas presents and that sort of thing, but we're really, really looking forward to
A
going
lot
up
of
to
people are
Birmingham.
starting to ask me what the format is, so we'll have to work that out.
Well, the format's quite simple.
Well, we don't know what the format is.
Well, we do.
Well, don't tell them what the format is, because we don't know.
No, I know, Mike. I
How'd you-
know.
why
I know
haven't
my
you told
head.
me?
Because I direct and produce as well as
Oh,
star
really?
in. Yeah,
Oh, really?
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, so are you not the executive producer now?
Well, I could be, but
What about Dave Levine? What does he do
Well,
then?
Dave is the technical brain who makes it all work. He
Yeah.
presses all the buttons, pulls
And
all
he's
the
called the
levers.
producer. We call him the executive producer.
Yeah. But no,
You can't be the director as well as the actor.
I'm talking about producing and then brackets content.
Oh, yeah.
I.e. what we actually say on the stage, okay?
Right.
What Dave does is he arranges for it all to be there and done and come out properly and sound good and the initiatives that we need, the special effects and the
We
pictures.
don't need any special effects.
Well, we do, like, a screen and all that kind of stuff.
It's not really a special effect, is it? It's a
Well,
screen.
it's an additive. But anyway, it's going to be a great night.
It is going to be a great
Birmingham
night.
Repertory Theatre, March the 6th, 7:30 kick-off, 2-hour show, I can tell you that much anyway, and full of golden moments from the Two Mics.
From Mr. Parry's
and
past.
loads of new stuff.
Yeah, we'll be exposing some more stories that you haven't heard about him yet, but that'll be
what?
interesting. Now, let me read you this from Robbo in Dagenham. He says, on the subject of pubs, in Barking, pubs were named after things to do with fishing and the Navy. They're nearly all gone now. One was called the Captain Cook, because he got married at St Margaret's Church opposite. Barking in 1705 was a massive fishing town.
Yeah.
Cook's wedding was a grand affair. Sailboats brought the bride up the Thames, and you had loads of pubs named after the subject, i.e. the Jolly Fisherman, the Barge, etc., etc. So
That's very interesting, yeah.
So there are
I
down by the river. There are lots of. There's one near me called the Salt Quay.
Yeah, the Salt Quay.
Yeah.
It's interesting, yeah.
And, of course, there's the Mayflower, which is just up the road from me, at the top
Mayflower.
of Rotherhithe, which is where the Mayflower supposedly set off from.
Yeah, that would be right. Yeah, that'd be right, yeah.
And it's one of the oldest pubs in London.
The Pilgrim Fathers.
And if you go there, it's not carvery. They don't make you sit in a special place.
The Mayflower in Rotherhithe. Why? I don't know that. Why don't I know that?
I don't know.
Is there a walkway down from a road above it? Steps down to it nearby?
No, it's just by the where the Rotherhithe Tunnel is.
Yes.
If you go round the back of that,
yes,
and then you sort of head
yes,
towards
I
the
know
river,
where it is
there's a bit of a tow path, and it's got a little terrace out onto the river, and you can sit and watch the river. Beautiful in the summer evenings. We should go there. I'll take you there.
Yeah, good idea. But on the other side of the water there, my favourite pub is the Prospect of Whitby.
Yeah, that's where they used to tie people up and drown them.
That's right, they did. Yeah, used to tie them below the water level when the tide came in.
Wait
they
for the
drowned.
water level to come in. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, horrible.
Quite medieval.
Horrible
Shocking
thing. Yeah.
And the Captain Kidd was the sort of whopping pub, wasn't it? That everybody went
Captain
to.
Kidd's just down the road from the Prospect of Whitby.
I know, that's why I mentioned it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like the pubs around there. I used to live just round the corner there at
In
Free
your
Trade
days
Wharf.
as a newspaper titan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I used to take a stroll down from my place, which was an exclusive penthouse overlooking the Thames, and walk down past the Prospect of Whitby, a few pints in there, then the Captain Kidd,
Right.
and there's about another, I would say, 2 or 3 really nice pubs in Wapping High Street there. Really oldie worldy.
Yeah,
Like them. Yeah,
oldie
like 'em.
worldy, very
Yeah.
nice. Well,
Yeah.
you know, we should go there definitely.
Yeah,
We'll go on
definitely.
a pub crawl one of these days.
Definitely.
Now, let's talk about some of the things that you've been mentioning to me over the course of the last few days.
Yes.
You've come across something called Horrible Histories, and I know we've done
Yeah.
various kind of history quizzes, which you've done slightly better on than you did on the old British authors of the 20th century, I'd have to say. But Horrible Histories, actually, I think is a great programme. There's a programme
What
about
is
it,
it?
and there are books about it. It's a kids' TV show.
Yeah.
And basically what they do is they tell various stories of, the history of the Romans, the history of, the Battle of Hastings, and it's all done in a sort of comedic way with actors. And it's quite gory and bloody, and kids love it.
But
and they put books out as well.
According to my information,
Yeah.
it's a real distortion of what really happened.
It isn't.
So it's all sort of politically loaded and all this kind of stuff. Is that right?
That's not what I would say. No.
Well, have you seen them?
Yeah, I've watched them, yeah.
You've watched
My
them?
kids watch them all the time.
So do they do like the Battle of Hastings and all that kind of stuff?
They take, either periods or events in history.
Yeah.
And they'll go through, say, for example, the reign of Queen Elizabeth I.
Yeah.
And,
well, let
they'll
me
tell
read
the
this to
stories of
you.
what
Let me
happened.
read this to you.
All right.
Shows just how out of touch you are with modern teaching.
Well, where are you
and-
reading it from?
I'm reading this from a report by Academica. Right, and it says...
Academica?
Yeah. That's a collection of academics.
Is it?
Yeah. It says
Isn't
children...
a collection of academics just a collection of academics?
No, they're called Academica. Like you would call a collection of stadiums, stadia. Okay? You got it?
Yeah, but a collection of stadium and academic is not the same.
It is.
It's not the same ending of the word, is it?
It is. It's the same... It's
Stadium ends in IUM, which is why the plural is stadia.
It's the same...
Academic is not IUM, so the plural is academics.
No, it's not. It's Academica, believe me.
Academica.
Okay.
All right, I'll see if I can
listen
find
to
that
this.
word.
Children are being fed a dumbed-down version of the past by cartoonish schoolbooks inspired by the Horrible History series, says a prominent teacher. Robert Peel.
Robert Peel?
Robert Peel.
That's a good name, isn't it?
P-E-A-L, not
right,
P-E-E-L. History teacher and research fellow at the think tank Civitas has blamed the award-winning franchise for encouraging youngsters not to think about the past, but to laugh at it. Does that make sense to you?
Well, yeah, because they tell the story in a sort of comedic way, which is what children like. Children love the idea of something being funny, and then they remember it better.
Well,
instead of
what's
something
funny
being...
about Harold getting an arrow in the eye? Oh, Harold just got an arrow in the eye.
Because it's done in a kind of slapstick kind of way.
Well,
And
that's
that's-
disgraceful.
well, why is it
mocking
disgraceful?
our history and our heritage.
It's not mocking it at all.
It goes on to say modern textbooks were trying to appeal to the supposedly minimal attention spans of pupils.
Yeah, that's probably
by
true.
cramming in references to pop culture. And writing in the Times Educational Supplement, that's the world's most famous educational newspaper, by
Is
the
it?
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Mr.
read that regularly, do you?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Mr. Peel cited chapter headings such as, was Henry VII a gangster?
Yeah.
Well, there weren't any gangsters around
Well,
Henry
no,
VII's
I know,
times.
but they're making it more easily kind of palatable for younger minds.
Listen to this. Introduction to the Spanish Armada entitled Match of the Day, England versus Spain.
Yeah.
What a ridiculous analogy.
Well, that's a great way to let kids learn, isn't it?
Ridiculous analogy.
What's wrong with that?
Another textbook explores
Would
the horrors...
you rather they went to some sort of very, very stiff, stuck-up school where they weren't allowed to speak to each
Well,
other?
they kept to the facts.
Well, the facts are all in there.
No, they kept to the facts.
Well, I'd rather you actually watch one of these shows to see what
Another
it was like.
textbook explores the horrors of Mary Tudor's reign in There's Something About Mary. That was an extremely pornographic film, wasn't it?
It was not a pornographic
It was a
film at all.
pornographic
There was
film.
one scene in it that everybody made an awful lot of,
It was pretty revolting.
which
I'll
was
tell you.
actually quite funny. It was not a pornographic film.
While overleaf, a sheepskin-coated John Motson-type figure commentates on the Battle of Hastings.
I think that's funny.
Have you seen that one?
Yes, I have, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's ludicrous, that.
Why?
Well, is a John Motson-type figure in a
Well, no,
sheepskin
because he
standing
explains-
on the edge of the
He
battlefield.
explains exactly what happened, because you know what happened in the Battle
Well, I
of
just
Hastings.
said to you, Harold got an arrow in the eye.
Not an apple.
An arrow.
Yeah, but you know how it worked. It was like a football match, that battle. Because if you knew anything about the Battle of Hastings, you'd know that because I went to the reenactment of it, right?
Yes.
And there were several charges made by the Normans before they eventually won the battle. And it was a bit like a football match, because they went backwards and forwards. And the English Saxons thought that they were going to be able to defend the part of the ground ground that they were on. And when they realised that the Normans were coming towards them, they started going down to meet them further, and that was their mistake. And in the end, the Normans with their horses and their arrows went all the way around the back, and that was a game, set and match. And actually doing it like a football match is quite smart.
It says here, in a book aimed at GCSE pupils, school children are shown a CSI-style investigation into the murder of Thomas Becket.
Well,
Excuse me, Mr. Peel said there was a particular problem with history textbooks for the 11 to 14-year-olds which suffer from a complete lack of narrative. You'd be hard-pushed to find a stretch of more than 200 words that is not broken by a cartoon or a snippet of source material.
Really? Well, I think he's entirely wrong, because I think the point about history and the point about any academic subject... By the way, I've just discovered Academica is actually a Portuguese football team. Did you know that?
As well as, yes.
Oh, you knew that?
Yeah, of course I did, yes.
It's from the Organismo Autónomo da Futebol.
OK.
The Academy de Coimbra.
And why are you derailing...
There is no other dictionary definition of academica.
Why are you derailing the subject we're talking about now
Well,
with
I'm
this
just
useless
pointing
piece
out-
of
well, it's not
information about a
useless.
Portuguese
because we talk about
team?
football an awful lot, and here's the thing. My point about the horrible histories is that it's a great way for kids to learn, and in fact it'd be a very good way to teach almost any other subject.
Right, well, this outstanding academic, Mr. Peel, is calling
Where is
for...
he from?
I've told you where he's from. He's from Civitas.
Oh, Civitas. It's one of those think tanks, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. Right, he's calling for a return to immersive Penguin school books from the 70s, and those written by historians that featured elaborate illustrations of bygone events and figures. He said, far from being dry and boring, they are lively and beautifully illustrated, and crucially, they do not make concessions in content.
He sounds a bit of an old
detail.
fuddy-duddy. What about, when the Sun did those front pages? You're going to be all right?
No.
I'm going to get some water. You might need to get out of that plastic outfit you're wearing.
Yeah.
It's obviously
Yeah.
constricting your throat.
I think it is, yeah.
What about those great front pages that the Sun did? The historical front pages they did a book of?
Yeah.
Didn't you like those?
I thought they were OK, but they were meant to be a joke. They were not meant to be instructive or illustrative.
No, but they were great, though. But I bet they taught kids an awful lot.
Yeah, listen to this. In
Look
September...
at the time. Never mind listening to
Hang
this.
on. In September, it was announced that a bucket used to fight the Great Fire of London in 1666 and a lantern used by Guy Fawkes are among 100 objects to be used to liven up history lessons in schools.
Yeah. Why not?
Well, you see, that's real stuff. That's great.
Yeah,
That's
they've
great.
got those
That's great.
two things in the Museum of London. I've
Have
seen
they?
them. Yeah.
Have they?
A fire
Fantastic.
bucket. Yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Loads more coming up. Porky Vision is still to come, by the way. I hope
Absolutely.
you've been brushing up on your TV. You're going to tell us about Broadchurch.
Oh,
aren't you?
definitely. Yeah. What time's that? What time's that?
I don't know yet when we're doing that. We'll
Right.
have to talk to the
Right.
director of the
Right.
show.
You should do it as
which
soon as
isn't you.
possible because it's great stuff, honestly. I'm going to enthrall you with my
Look at
knowledge
the
of
time.
TV this week.
Look into the light for a second. This is Talk Sport with the two mics.
You can see all the stars as you walk down Hollywood Boulevard. Some that you recognize, some that you've hardly even heard of. People who worked and suffered and struggled for fame. Some who succeeded and some who suffered in vain.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the two mics. I'm sure you recognise that voice, don't you? That's a very...
Ray Davis.
Ray Davis from Kinks, yeah. Hollywood Boulevard. You've been to Hollywood, haven't you?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Have you walked down past Mann's Chinese Theatre?
Yeah,
and all that?
absolutely, yeah.
And all the stars and everything?
I lost my wallet in Rodeo Drive when I came out of a Chinese restaurant there.
You went to Rodeo Drive and you went to a Chinese restaurant?
Yeah, I did,
What did you
yeah.
do that for?
I was with Peter Kent, an old mate, and
yeah.
we met up there, and he said, oh, come on, I'll take this restaurant. And following day, I got a phone call from a bloke who lived in Pacific Palisades, and his nanny had been out that night in Rodeo Drive, found my wallet, picked it up and took it home.
Well,
and
that was
I went and collected it.
Oh, so you went to Pacific Palisades to
I
get
did,
it?
yeah.
Amazing
yeah.
place. Well, we're going to go over live now to Hollywood and talk to Sasha Stone because the Oscars ceremonies are not that far away. The Golden Globes are kind of
That's right.
Going on as well. And so it's time to talk about maybe some British interest in what's happening over there.
Yeah, yeah.
Sasha, very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Oh, good morning, and thank you for having me.
Not at all.
Pleasure.
I realise it's probably going to slightly confuse you. It's still evening over there, isn't it? It's still the night before where we are. But but it's a big, exciting time of the year in your part of the world, isn't it?
Well, yeah, kind of. For people paying attention, it is. It's in my corner of the world. It's exciting, but there's a vast amount of people in America who don't really care about the awards anymore.
Really? Why do you think that is?
Not to
why is
start
that?
things on I think that over the years the Oscars have sort of diverged with public tastes a lot. And so, you know, what you're really kind of looking at is sort of the Academy's taste of what Best Picture is. And most people walking around wouldn't, first of all, haven't even seen the movies, most of them, and secondly, wouldn't necessarily agree that those are the best films. It's just sort of the way it's gone in the last.
Because I mean, when Mike and I both lived in the US at various times, from sort of the 80s through the 90s and everything else, and at that time, people still kind of sat up all night and watched the whole ceremony, even though it went on for hours and hours and hours and hours. Do they not do that anymore?
Yeah. Well, they still watch it because it's kind of like the Super Bowl here. It's sort of just an event that people do just because they're conditioned to do it, and they get excited about it. They have parties, and you know that still happens. But this part of it, which is just my part, which is the sort of the gaming aspect of it, the lead up to the nominations being announced. You know, not so much general interest in that. It's more of a niche thing.
Yeah, okay.
So.
Now then, it's lovely to have on the show, Sasha. Thank you very much indeed. And it's going to be a British invasion this year, isn't there? Because two of the highly rated films which are going to be contesting a lot of the gongs are The Imitation Game and The Theory of Everything.
Everything?
Yep, that's
everything.
Right. And maybe
that's
Mr. Turner, which is also British, yeah.
Sorry?
Sorry to talk over you. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
The third one would be Mr. Turner, which might get in. It's also British, about the painter Turner,
yeah, sure.
and that's Mike Lee's movie.
That's one of your favourite painters.
So I look at it as kind of
Constable. Sorry, I'm just saying there, Sasha. Constable was my favourite painter, but of course it was all about Turner and Constable, wasn't it? But the other thing is, Sasha, as we approach nominations and all this, I'm getting reports out of Los Angeles that all sorts of dirty tricks are now being played out between the studios. A big spat between Warner Brothers, apparently, and Sony Pictures after one attacked the other's film.
Who are you getting these reports from?
From my spies in Hollywood.
Really?
One of them was attacking the other's film, Foxcatcher, and this is what now goes on as the haggling starts for the nominations.
Yeah, well, sure it does. It goes on sort of every scale. It's all the way up to the top newspapers with legitimate reporters and networks that are tied in with studios. You know, because they're all conglomerates here, right? So NBC is tied in with Universal, and so NBC was doing a lot of stuff about Unbroken. You know, just free publicity for the movie. So everything's kind of tied in, but it's all the way up on that level. And then it's all the way down on the smaller level, which is what you're talking about, the Warner Brothers thing, which was a outside of sort of, you know, rogue publicity firm that was hired to do damage to their opponents, but also to pump up their own products by pretending that they're fans of the movie or they're spreading stories. I mean, this has been going on for years, you know, ever since the internet sort of.
And do they still hand out sort of rather, I suppose, surreptitiously? Do they hand out kind of gifts and things to the nominating committee and all of that? Very expensive gifts, or is that all now frowned upon?
I think it's kind of frowned upon for the Oscars. You know, it probably happens for other groups, like maybe the Golden Globes or something. And, you know, the BAFTAs are announcing tonight. Tonight for me, that's this morning for you. But
right.
The BAFTAs have become, in the last 5 years, really important to the Oscar race because they can sometimes tell you if a film that's popular with British voters is going to get into our Oscar race because we have the Academy has so many British members that the British voters really do have influence.
So and we have this
that's
weird
why
thing.
I'll be excited to see what.
Yeah, we have this. I mean, Mr. Parry, my co-host here, is very keen on the film business, as you said.
Absolutely.
As you heard him say, he's got a lot of contacts in Hollywood. So you didn't tell me you'd probably be going to the BAFTAs later, right?
Well, maybe or maybe not. I haven't decided yet.
Yet.
I haven't decided. Sasha, the other thing is, what I've sort of gleaned over the years now is that actors actually take on scripts if they think they are of Oscar-winning determination, and the categories now are things like, for instance, a slave film always seems to, get a good chance of winning an Oscar. A film about Jewish persecution, Schindler's List or something like that, always seems to have a good chance of getting an Oscar. It's almost as if it's become politically categorised now, and it doesn't matter how good the acting is in a film, it doesn't fall into one of these sort of, Oscar-winning categories. There's no point in making the film.
Yeah. I know it's funny. Well, they can make it, but it either has to be a big box office success or it has to be an Oscar movie. And the Oscar movie has its own genre now, which is really weird because it didn't used to. 20 years ago, the Oscars were about movies that people loved, that everybody loved, and they got rewarded because people loved them. Because movies are made for audiences, right? They're not made for awards voters. But things have changed so much in that way because Hollywood's changed, because Hollywood doesn't make movies that the Oscar voters like. I was at an Oscar party last night, and I was walking around the Academy members, and you see them, and they're pretty old, They're just of a different generation, and they're not going to be voting for the same kind of movies people like.
Right.
So in order to keep the Academy going and the Oscars going, they have to keep making these movies. They call them prestige picks that are tailor-made for Oscar voters.
Right.
And it's sort of its own little industry,
Yeah. So have you?
And
have
World
you heard?
War II movies with Nazis are the best. So.
And Sasha, have you got any? Have you been hearing anything on the grapevine about what you think might win Best Picture this year?
Well, speaking of British invasion, I still think it's Boyhood, but a really good pundit friend of mine who writes for a different site seems to be predicting Imitation Game actually to sneak up and win. The funny thing about it is that in 2010, when the King's Speech won, it beat The Social Network, and The Social Network was the critical favorite, and the King's Speech came along and just took over completely and won in a sort of a surprise attack. And that's what people think might happen this year again with the Imitation Game. They think that everybody's counting on Boyhood winning, but that Imitation Game could build momentum and win. And of course, it's being handled by Harvey Weinstein, and so it's the same guy pushing both films. And so it's interesting. That's kind of the suspense of the moment. Imitation Game is doing a lot better in the race than anybody ever thought it would. It's making a lot of money. People love it. Everybody loves it, and it has enthusiastic support. And Boyhood does too, but it kind of was the front runner early, and sometimes the front runner that's early can kind of lose steam as a new front runner takes over. But I still think Boyhood's got it. That's my opinion.
Okay.
We'll see.
Sasha, in terms of Best Actor, now you mentioned Turner to me, and I wasn't aware that actually had a chance, but the lead actor in Turner, of course, is Timothy Spall. It would be astonishing if he became an Oscar-winning actor because he's not Oscar material in the way that you've just described it. Timothy Spall made his reputation in this country as an actor in TV series of very, very sort of dubious quality. Things like what was that one, Mike? Auf Wiedersehen Pet and all this kind of stuff. And whilst
that was good, wasn't it? You didn't like that?
Oh no, I think he's a great actor, but he's not by any means can he be described as a classic actor. Who's taken on, gigantic roles in huge budget movies before.
Right. Well, he's great, and Mr. Turner, he actually won Best Actor at the Cannes Film Festival for his portrayal, and the Best Actor is the most crowded category.
Yeah. Well, I was aware of that, of course.
It's so crowded that he might not get in.
I think, Sasha, that's a very good time at which to end this. I'm terribly sorry, but we're out of time.
Yeah.
I mean, what an incredibly crass thing to say. Timothy Spall, who's won Best Actor at the Cannes Film Festival.
Well, I knew that.
One of the greatest festivals of movies ever in the world. And you say to one of our experts that, he's not really a classic actor. He just won Best Actor at the Cannes Film Festival.
I think he's a great guy, and I love watching him act, and I've seen him in all sorts of things, But what I'm saying is, you don't look at him in the same way.
Well, they do at the Cannes Film Festival.
No. In the same way that you would look at, say, Richard Burton or somebody like that. You know what I mean?
Well, Richard Burton's dead.
I know Richard Burton's dead. He drunk himself to death on stage, and
he never won an Oscar either.
No, he never won an Oscar. That's absolutely true.
So he's a bit like Timothy Spall, then, isn't he?
No.
Now look into the light for a moment.
You know exactly what I'm saying.
No, I don't.
Auf Wiedersehen Pet is not exactly Oscar-winning sort of stuff, is it?
Porky is what I'm saying.
Come and listen to my story about a man named Jed. A poor mountaineer barely kept his family fed. And then one day he was shooting at some food, and up to the ground come a bubbling crude oil, that is black gold, Texas tea. Well, the first thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. The kinfolk said, Jed, move away from there. Said, California is a place you ought to be. So they loaded up the truck and they moved to Beverly.
This is TalkSport Extra Time with the two mics and the dulcet tones of, I'm not sure who actually, but that's the Beverly Hillbillies, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Which was one of the great shows.
Oh, it was great shows in the 60s.
I have to point out, for anybody who's wondering, this is not Porky Vision yet, because we're going to do that in the next hour.
That's right.
Where you're going to be reviewing a few more recently made TV shows. But
exactly.
You want to talk about Beverly Hillbillies?
Well, you've got to talk about them, and I'll tell you why, because It was such an iconic series, wasn't it? And the individual actors were absolutely wonderful, and one of them was Donna Douglas, and she played Ellie Mae.
Ellie Mae Clampett.
Ellie Mae Clampett with the tumbling blonde hair.
Yeah.
She had check shirt and blue jeans. She was a tomboy, but she was from the backwoods, obviously, Jed Clampett's daughter. And she was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I was really shocked to read this week that she's died at the age of 81.
Yeah.
Which meant that she must have been about in her early 30s when she was playing Ellie Mae Clampett. But she was supposed to be like a teenager, you know what I mean?
Right.
But she was a lovely, lovely looking woman, a lovely girl, and it really shocked me to see that A, you know, she died, and B, that she's a lot older than I thought she would. But that,
and actually, great pictures of her that I'm looking at now, where you can still recognise the same kind of, the same kind of look, you know, that she's got, that she had then. You know, are you all right there?
Yeah, struggling.
Yeah, struggling. Yeah, there. She's slightly. I mean, she obviously looks like an older woman, but she's still got the same look.
Oh no, that's terrific. But I thought the whole Beverly Hillbillies thing was a fantastic idea in the first place, wasn't it? To get this family from the backwoods and put them into Beverly Hills. They used real people's homes. Yeah, you know, they used, the equivalent of like Sly Stallone's home today and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Right.
And
270 episodes they did of it as well,
yeah.
So it went on for a long time.
Yeah, and each individual character was fantastic. Buddy Ebsen, I think, was he was Jed Clampett, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And I didn't realise until after about the 6th or 7th episode, and in those days I was about 7 or 8, my mum told me he was a world champion ballroom dancer.
Was he?
Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Well, I didn't know that either.
I mean, I saw the Beverly Hillbillies, you know, as a kid, I suppose, a few times, and I mean, I was never, you know, it was never something I watched religiously.
Oh, I did. I used to love it. Now, the other guy, I mean, she was great, old Ellie Mae. She kept all her critters in the back garden, all that kind of things like raccoons and all that kind of stuff, you know. But the guy who I thought was the outstandingly funny boy was Jethro. Now, he was Max Baer, wasn't he? Was that his name?
I don't know.
I think it was. And do you know who he was? He was the son of the former world heavyweight boxing champion.
He was the young guy.
He was the young guy.
Yeah.
But he was the dumbest of the lot.
Oh, okay.
And he always wanted to be a playboy in Beverly Hills, although they still drove around in the old wagon that they'd brought from Tennessee or wherever they'd come from, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he came up with so many great liners. I remember he brought a girl back to the Beverly Hills mansion once when his parents weren't there, and he took her upstairs, and then he said, you know, don't let my mum and my because there wasn't a mother, there was Jed the father, and then there was Granny, wasn't it?
That's right.
What do they call her? Granny? Nanny? Something like that?
Yeah. I don't know. You're much more of an expert on this than I am.
And I remember they came out the bedroom, and she said, can I come back now, Jethro? Is the coast clear? And Jethro, you know, put his hand over his eyes and said, gee, I don't know, I can't see that far because of the walls. You know, I mean, he
wasn't bright, was he?
No, he was right. And in fact, he had what you would probably call a great Porky idea once, a revolutionary one.
Oh, did he?
He decided to invent the world's first electric car.
Right.
And what he did is he put an electric engine in the car, or a mechanic did, but then he had a 3-mile-long lead, which he plugged in, into the...
That sounds like one of yours,
to the house. Yeah. And then he went driving off around Beverly Hills while this 3-mile lead,
unravelled
behind him, on a reel, you know. Yeah. And of course, the moment that he went beyond 3 miles and the lead snapped, he had no power in his car, and he couldn't figure out how to get it back, you know. But
that's very funny.
But I thought it was an incredible.
It was a very funny show.
And the other one was the banker guy. Now I can't remember his name, but the banker who looked after all their money, Mr.
I don't know.
And his secretary, who was a terribly fussy, proper woman. But the banker guy was so obsessed with money, whenever he had a funny turn and he was feeling faint, his secretary used to come and wave dollar bills under his nose, you know.
Was it Mr. Drysdale?
Mr. Drysdale. Yeah. Mr. Drysdale, absolutely right, the banker. And that would revive him in much the same way as smelling salts revive everybody else. But I just honestly thought it was such a shame. And the other shame about it, Mike, is that quite recently they made a feature film, didn't they, called The Beverly Hillbillies?
I think they did.
And it was a complete flop.
Which was a complete flop.
Complete flop.
First time I went to Beverly Hills and I was driving around, I was looking for somebody's address. Having never been there before, I didn't realise quite how complicated it was to doorstep somebody, you know, because, of course, I was being sent from London, although, you know, I came from New York.
It's just all massive walls and massive gates.
Exactly. Yeah. And not only that, but it was in the days before sat-navs, right? So I thought, well, I'll find my way to, you know, Rodeo Drive, and then I'll just kind of find my way from there. And as I was driving around, I realised, I thought, well, I'll just stop and ask somebody.
Yeah.
And of course, there's nobody to stop and ask. And the only people that I found actually to talk to were gardeners. And I pulled up about 3 consecutive gardeners. who were tending these beautiful, well manicured lawns with palm trees and everything. And of course, they didn't speak any English; they're all Mexicans.
Yeah.
And so, in the end, I had to go and find a map. Go back and actually buy a map and find this address by looking at a map.
The only other people to ask were the security services, because every area of Beverly Hills...
I didn't want to ask them, though.
They wouldn't tell you anything.
No.
They'd give you misinformation.
Right.
They'd tell you, no, the way out of Beverly Hills, sir, is that way, and don't come back and all that kind of stuff,
And then when I eventually found the house, I think I was trying to find somebody who was in one of the Terminator movies or something like that, for some story or other. And, of course, all you could then do was ring the bell and wait for somebody to answer, which they didn't do. But you couldn't sit in the car on the street and sort of doorstep because there's no other cars on the street.
Well, not only that, but it's the first place I ever came across that had no pavements at all.
Yeah.
It's the first time I realised in America the actual power of the motor industry.
Yeah.
They didn't even bother building pavements because most people drove from their neighbours to their own home in a car.
No.
They never set foot.
And on that same trip, I went to the Beverly Hills Hotel. I was quite starstruck by the place. Actually.
Yeah,
I went to the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Yeah.
And decided to pop in and have a drink in the famous Polo Bar, Polo Lounge, I think it was called.
Polo Lounge.
And Sean Penn was in there having a drink.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't say anything to him.
You didn't say anything to him.
No.
Didn't Piers live there for a while?
I think he did when he was out doing his thing for CNN.
Yeah,
he had
right,
a suite of rooms which he said I think used to be occupied by Warren Beatty. Right?
That's right. That's what he said. He claims all the time. No, I was absolutely starstruck by the place. Oh, it was fantastic. And then if you went up and looked at the sign, the Hollywood sign and all that.
Yeah, I never found the
Hills
Hollywood sign. I couldn't find the Hollywood sign. I mean, you can see it, but I didn't know how to get up to it. Did you actually get up to it?
Yeah, definitely.
You sure?
Definitely. We went to a hotel nearby and sat on the terrace and you're a few feet away from it.
you could see it, but I mean, I could see it from the ground.
No, we got up to the base of it.
Are you sure?
It's massive. I mean, you think, you look at it, it's about the size of a man, each sign.
Yeah.
Size of each one's about 30 feet.
Is it?
Yeah, it's huge.
Well, I figured it was pretty big.
Huge sign, yeah. But I just reflected on, the Beverly Hills situation. It went away. And why, you wonder why sometimes these shows stop. If they've been so successful after 270 episodes, it's just all right, they don't go on. I suppose the individual actor's got other things to do and go off and do other things.
According to her obituary that I've been reading, she didn't do that much else.
I don't see anything else.
She was a former beauty queen, right, who was born in somewhere down south, I think, and she died in Baton Rouge. But she was in a couple of films, but nothing really much after that. She starred opposite Elvis Presley in Frankie and Johnny in 1966.
Yeah.
And then she had a small role with in one of those Doris Day Rock Hudson films in 1961, and that was about it, really.
Yeah, and afterwards, I think she took to religion. I think she became a bit of a preacher or something, went back to the Deep South. Yeah, I think so, yeah. But, no, I was very, very sorry to see that she passed away, and as you quite rightly say, she didn't do an awful lot except Ellie Mae Clampitt. But it was such a great programme. I loved the start of it as well, when he, Jed is literally out with his gun, his double-barrelled shotgun, fires at a rabbit, which he's going to put in the pot for dinner.
Yeah.
And, such a ludicrous scenario. The cartridge goes into the ground and literally oil starts bubbling out,
That's right.
I mean, the idea that oil's that near to the surface is so ridiculous. And then, to prove how backwards they were, somebody finds out it's oil and all the oil executives arrive and some guy comes in from some oil company and says to Jed Clampitt, and they did actually live in a shack, without any running water or anything. Right. I got to get back to Texas quickly and tell these folks what we found here. Where's the nearest airfield? And, Jed and Ellie and Granny all looked at each other. Airfield? And then Jed Clampitt said, yeah, Granny, it's one of those fields that float on air. They never even heard of an airplane, airport and all that kind of stuff. It was terrific.
It was a very
but sadly
show.
no more.
Now, I'll read you a couple of tweets because we're going to talk to
let's do that.
Gary Stevens coming up in a moment about football this weekend. Justin from Waltham Abbey says, I think Porky could win an Oscar because he blags about all his stories. You're both great, he says, but Mike Graham, please tell Porky to stop interrupting you because you talk more sense than him.
What?
And he says, please read this out. Ian says, Alpha Vita St. Pet was 40 years ago and at the start of Tim's career. He has had some amazing roles since then. Well, as indeed the judges at the Cannes Film Festival would attest to, right? And here's one from Michael.
Yeah, well, I admit all that, and I agree with all that, and I think he's a terrific actor. I saw him in something with Bob... is it Bob Hoskins?
Could have been.
Well,
he's been in loads of movies.
No, The Long Good Friday, right? Now, I saw him in a TV series with Bob Hoskins, in which Bob Hoskins... It was a great gritty drama. This Bob Hoskins was the landlord of a pub on a housing estate.
Right.
So it was like all the clientele were all well known and very close.
Yeah.
And Bob Hoskins caught the son of the local builder, the rich builder, you know, a man who made a fortune for himself, in the loos taking drugs. So Bob Hoskins banned him from the pub.
Right.
So his father came round and said, "You can't ban my son." You know, I support.
I was told
you.
it was called The Street. Does that ring a bell?
It might have been, but anyway, it sounds the same. Anyway, the builder took out, his own justice, hired a couple of guys to beat Bob Hoskins up.
Right.
And because he wouldn't let his son back in.
I don't remember this at all.
And the builder thought he'd lost face within the eyes of the local community because his son was banned from the pub. You see what I mean? Couldn't even come in. And Timothy Spall played the only guy who stood by Bob Hoskins when this reign of terror was set upon Bob Hoskins because he'd upset the local builder's son. You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
And it was terrific. It was absolutely terrific. He's a terrific actor.
Yeah, I know he is. Tremendous.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see whether he's got an outside chance of getting an Oscar for the
Be
film.
good, wouldn't it?
Mr. Turner, we shall see. Chuckle Vision's come round as well as Porky Vision very quickly, hasn't it? So we're actually going to do Porky Vision now.
Yeah.
So I hope you're fully prepared to give us the benefit of your TV review.
Absolutely.
And you've been talking all week about Broadchurch, so I presume you're going to head off with Broadchurch.
Absolutely.
Do you know, I only actually... Why are you clapping your hands?
Because
like
I'm
seal?
excited about it, honestly.
I only just saw, do you know, the first... because I've missed it the first time around.
What, Broadchurch?
But I did, yeah. But I got the gift of a box set.
Excellent.
And I spent all last weekend watching it.
Have you watched it?
Partly because I've watched the first series now, yeah.
Right, you've seen it all.
But I haven't seen... What I haven't seen is the start of the new series yet. Because
now, this is one of the points I was going to make, you see.
Yeah.
Because the second series of Broadchurch has started as a follow-on to the first. So it means...
I wondered how they could do that.
Well, you see, this is it. Now, what it means that I've forgotten some salient facts from the first one, which link the plots from the first series to the second series. I thought they were going to start again with a whole new crime.
Right.
But it's not. It's an extension of this crime.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. What happens is, is that... excuse me.
You're going to be all right.
I'm all right, fine, yeah. The guy... Now, the guy who has been locked up for the murder of the child...
Yes.
has confessed to murdering the child.
Right.
He is the husband of a detective, Olivia Coleman.
Right. Well, he did all that in the last show, didn't he?
Yeah. He's the policeman husband. Sorry, he's the husband.
He's the husband of the police officer.
Of policewoman, played by Olivia Coleman, who worked on the case.
Who said at the end of the last series that she was going to leave the police force, didn't she?
She went to a different police force down in Devon and Cornwall.
And that was, there was a couple of reasons why I thought I can't see how they could follow this on.
Yeah.
Because the main character, Doctor Who guy, what's his name?
Yeah, I know you mean, yeah.
You're not going to tell me his name, are
I've
you?
forgotten his name.
You've
It's
forgotten
not
his name?
Cumberbatch, is it? No, he's the other one.
Cumberbatch?
Cumberbatch is the current Doctor Who, isn't he?
No. Benedict Cumberbatch you're talking about?
Yeah.
No, he's the guy that said Sherlock.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, it's David Tennant.
David Tennant, that's the guy I'm talking about,
Well, and he's sick beyond compare, right? So you think he's going to have to retire. But I presume he's in a new series, isn't he?
Look, see, what happens is...
Why are you shaking your head like that?
Because I'm trying to get facts right to you.
I'm trying to help you out.
No, I'm helping you out here. Because what happens is, you see, the guy who is the killer appears in court for a straight up and down guilty and then ship him off for life and all that.
Okay.
But in the last moment...
so he pleads guilty?
No, this is the point. At the last moment in court, he pleads not guilty.
Oh, really?
Now, this then reopens the whole story. Because then the next you've got is that they've got to appoint new barristers, they've got to research the case again. He's in his own head...
schedule a trial and all that?
He's in his own head saying that, that there are no innocent people involved in this. Now, what I think is the flaw in the plot is that if they got to Crown Court and expect him to plead guilty, then surely they must have had a full confession for him about times and places and where he took the child and the boy and all that. But it turns out that when he pleads not guilty, then the Crown Prosecution Service are worried they haven't got a strong enough case.
But I suppose that wouldn't be the first time that they've had to go before a judge and say, well, we've got this confession, but he's now pleaded not guilty.
Yeah,
because that does happen.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you then go back to the policeman who arrested him and questioned him to find out they haven't actually got any details on.
But isn't that going to be a bit of a disappointment though for people?
Well,
because they're now going to have to go back over all the old. Don't give it away.
No, I'm not going to give it away because everybody's seen it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Well,
I'm going to watch it this weekend.
That's your fault. But
I'm going to watch it this weekend.
What happens now is the family get mortally upset because they've got to go through it all again.
Yeah.
They even go to the churchyard to pay respects to their son to find his body getting dug up because
don't say what happens.
Yeah. Because the the defence now want a new pathology test,
an autopsy,
a new autopsy, and all that kind of
test.
stuff. Yeah, and there's all sorts of really, really weird things happening. Like, for instance, a woman suddenly turns up who is a protected witness from a previous case, and that's why David Tennant went to Broadchurch in the first place, to try and help
for
her
the case that
go
he
into
messed up
hiding.
the last
Yeah,
time.
that's right. The messed up case. That's right, and all that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting.
But we're not going to have like 8 shows all about the same story.
Yeah, we
surely.
are. Yeah, we are. Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be as good, is it?
Well, people who've seen it say it's incredibly good. But
now, did you have any trouble? Haven't you seen it?
What?
The new show?
Yeah, I haven't seen the next 7 episodes, though, have I? Which have already been made.
Oh, I'm glad you have.
And everybody says they're good.
You'd be telling
but it
us
looks
what's
to
gonna
me
happen.
like the next 7 episodes are going to be a battle to finally nail the killer.
Yeah.
You know, and all sorts of twists and turns are going to come out. His telling moment was when he was asked directly by his own barrister, well, did you kill the boy or not?
Yeah.
His only answer was, there are no Stop that, please. I'm not revealing anything that's not already known. There are no innocents in this case.
Oh.
There are no innocents.
Oh, so the implication is somebody else is involved, you mean?
That's the insinuation.
Now, I'm told, because I haven't seen it, and so you'll be able to tell me since you have, that people were struggling to understand David Tennant in this episode.
I don't understand that.
And people were saying they wanted subtitles.
No, I didn't hear any mumbling, or
Really?
there weren't any words I couldn't understand, and all that kind of stuff. So I reject all that. I don't know where that's come
So
from.
are you giving us the Porky thumbs up then?
Oh, Porky thumbs up, absolutely, yeah. Although, like you, I wonder how you are going to be able to stretch out...
To sustain it for another 8 episodes.
That's right, on a case that, we thought was signed, sealed and delivered.
Right.
The other thing is, the girl that's been introduced as the one that David Tennant has been trying to protect from the previous case he messed up is now being pursued...
His ex-wife, isn't it?
No, it's not his ex-wife. No, it's not his ex-wife, no. Is now being pursued...
I thought he said that the reason that it all got messed up was because a woman detective went to a hotel and left evidence in her car. Her car was broken into, and it turned out that woman was his wife. But she was in the hotel with another man.
That's not part of the plot in this one. Part of the plot in this one...
That's the woman in question, isn't it?
No. This woman who's turned up, right, is in a protected witness protection scheme...
Witness protection program, we call that.
Yeah, but it's not an official one. It's one that David Tennant set up himself.
Oh, right.
Got her in a cottage nearby. That's why he moved to Broadchurch, to try and look after her, because she was his main prosecution witness, except that the villain, who was her husband, got off, and so he's now after her.
Oh, right.
And he
he's not going to have to look very hard for her, is he?
No, well, he didn't know where she was.
He just have to follow David Tennant, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, but I mean, David Tennant moved from where he was last time. Nobody knew where he was.
Right.
And
he's been on TV now down there, so everybody knows where he is.
Well, that's true. And this guy's now turned up. He's now turned up.
So that's the second strand. Then.
Second strand, and another
so that sounds good.
dangerous
Because, I only just saw,
around.
and this is how far behind I am, I only just saw the final episode of The Missing this week.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know how you said that the boy dies at the end?
Yeah.
Which he doesn't. Well,
Doesn't
we don't know. It's left kind of open because there's going to be another series of that.
Is there?
Yeah.
Is there? Right, okay.
So what else have you been watching this week?
Now, I watched a ridiculous programme called Shogun. It was brilliant.
Shogun?
Yeah.
What was ridiculous about it?
Well, it was made about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Richard Chamberlain.
Yeah, I remember Shogun. Yeah, it's really ancient.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, why are you reviewing that?
Well, I'll tell you. Because I was watching Dallas the other morning, right? And Dallas is
as
on
you
from,
do.
Yeah, Dallas is on from 9 till 10. I love Dallas, I love...
What are you watching TV from 9 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock?
Well, because I get up at 4:30 every morning, and I go and feed the ducks and I come back. Yeah, that sort of thing, yeah. And... I do live my life by the virtues and the rules of J.R. Ewing. So I have
said that in the past.
Yeah, I like to watch Dallas every morning because the way J.R.
That's what he did.
Yeah, no, I like to watch it because J.R. does things which I think are admirable, and he instills new confidence in me in life and how to behave.
Even though he's a fictitious character.
Yeah, I don't care. If we all lived our life...
Never mind, we've got a lot of time here.
By the rules of J.R. Ewing. Yeah,
At least you're not a better loser.
Yeah.
After all the experience you've had.
So Shogun, he's talking to Cliff Barnes there, obviously. So Shogun comes on immediately afterwards. So I was about to switch the telly off, but I had a paper in my hand or something, or I was on the phone, and this Shogun comes...
It's set in Japan, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's so ridiculous. So Richard Chamberlain...
Well, almost everything Richard Chamberlain was ever in.
Well, that's right, Dr. Kildare. So Richard Chamberlain is the English sea captain, although he's American, obviously, but there weren't any Americans in those days, because it's like in the sort of 1600s or something, you know what I mean?
There weren't any Americans.
Well, there weren't. There was no America, so he must be English.
No Americans. No. It's kind of true, I suppose.
Yeah. So his ship gets blown, to shore in Japan-like country. You know what I mean?
Japan-like country.
Yeah,
so what's he meant to be then?
Well, he's a shipping
Phoenician
captain
or something.
No, he's a shipping captain.
Yeah, but where's he from?
Well, he's from England.
Oh,
He's
right,
from England.
okay.
I'm sure he's from England. Yeah, he looks English, you know. And this this Japanese type country, which is
Japanese type country.
Yeah, it's not called Japan.
Isn't
you know what I mean? No, but it's all
What's it called?
I don't know, but it's Shogun, you know, and all,
Yeah,
all the east.
sounds like Japan.
All the east. Anyway, what happens is he's then captured by this sort of, you know, mad tribe, you know, of like, you know, of Japanese-like people.
Right.
And he's told to bow in front of the leader, you know,
Yeah.
and you know,
He looks like Japanese warriors or something.
yeah, Japanese warriors, like
Shoguns,
like,
even,
like
you might call them.
like the Sumari or whatever they're called, you know,
Samurai.
yeah. That's right, yeah. So anyway,
Sumari.
he is told to kneel in front of the big chief, you know, and he refuses to do that.
Yeah.
So Big Chief then orders a few of his henchmen to pick up his cabin boy and dump him in a big pot of boiling water.
Oh, dear.
And, excuse me, and then Richard Chamberlain says, no, don't do that, but they've already dumped him in. So then the Big Chief says, if you want to save the boy, you do it my way. He says, OK, what do I have to do? He says, lie down on the floor now, face down. So he does. So then you think the Big Chief, right, is going to, like, beat him to death or something like that. He doesn't. He stands over him, takes his trousers down and urinates all over him.
Deary me.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like sort of thing to be watching at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Well,
I think we should close it there.
No, it's so ridiculous. And anyway, he...
See the time.
So Richard Chamberlain is on the
You're not
ground.
going to tell us the whole plot.
And he's looking completely fed up that this bloke's urinating
Well,
all
he
over
would,
him.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so ridiculous. And then he gets up and then he has to have a batting fight with, you know, like the chief, chief's hero
samurai.
warrior. Yeah,
Shogun.
it's ludicrous, honestly. It's completely ludicrous.
So we shouldn't really watch it then.
And all the time, Richard Chamberlain's walking round in this coat which is drenched in urine. And it's quite obvious it's all wet. Nobody says, do you want to change your coat or anything? It's ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous.
Well, that's another fantastic version of the Porky Vision there.
Yeah.
We'll catch up with it same time next
Absolutely.
week.
Oh, and by the way, the cabin
Look
boy...
at the time.
Cabin boy's then pulled out of the boiling water pot and he's alive. I mean, you know... I don't know how on earth you stay alive in that.
No, I don't know either. That was the Two Mics podcast.
Yes, it certainly was. Don't forget, it's out every Tuesday and every Friday morning on iTunes.
And you can follow us at the Two Mics.
So keep listening for more of MG's loose morals. Believe me, this boy hasn't got a moral fibre in his body.
And more of his bizarre buffoonery.
What? Hi, Earth. This is Bonjo from Planet Zog.